But before we commence, let us all take a moment to observe the 5 precepts. And trying to do in that, let us seek refuge of the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. And with that intention, with the hope in mind, please all recite the Namaskara 3 times. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Sarana-gamaṇaṃ sampunnaṃ, Pānāti pātā vēramaṇī, Sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi, Adinādāna vēramaṇī, Sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi, Kāmesu micchāchārā vēramaṇī, Sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi, Musāvādā vēramaṇī, Sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi, Suramēraya majjapamā daṭṭhānā vēramaṇī, Sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi, Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammaṃ sādhukaṃ surakkitaṃ khattvā appamādena sampādeta. Okay, you may now all be seated. As usual, we are gathered here today to listen to another sermon of the Lord Buddha's Dhamma. It is because of the Lord Buddha that we have this Dhamma today. It is because of His infinite compassion, boundless knowledge, boundless wisdom, that we have the good fortune, that we have the privilege to find and seek for ourselves the path to liberation, the path to Nibbana. It is because He sacrificed Himself and His life and many births in samsara, that today we have this gift of Dhamma. So, before we commence, let us take a moment to pay homage to the Lord Buddha, and in our minds, think for ourselves about the infinite great qualities that the Lord Buddha possessed. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Also, before we commence, let us take a moment to invite all the devas, brahmanas, spirits and demons, as well as any beings who we may have come past in samsara, all those countless births that we spent in samsara, and all the countless number of beings who have been our fathers, mothers, brothers and sisters, teachers, uncles, aunts. Let us invite all of them. Today we have the gift of Dhamma, today we have the path to liberation. Let us open our minds, our hearts and this opportunity to them. May they all join us, may they rejoice in this meritorious deed, as well as be able to listen to the Lord Buddha's teaching and find the liberation for themselves. So as I make this invitation out to all the devas, brahmanas, spirits, demons and the dead, please join me in extending that invitation out to anyone in your family, your ancestors, as well as any gods and brahmanas who may be in your favor. Invite all of them, may they all listen to the Lord Buddha's teaching and be able to attain the noble attainments of Sotapanna, Sakurdagami, Anagrami and Arhat. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Sadhamam Munirajasansa Sunantu Saggamokadam Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Badhanta Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Badhanta Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Badhanta. And finally, before we commence, let us all take a moment to reflect on the reality that despite the fact that today we have the Lord Buddha's teaching which has shown us right from wrong, in the countless births in samsara, we have not had this opportunity. And oftentimes we have only had the opportunity or only had the association, unfortunately, of the Asat Purushas, who are the ignoble people, the immoral people. And in having done so, they defiled our minds with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and having been blinded with ignorance and attachment, we may have insulted, abused, slandered the Aryas. These Aryas are the Samma Sambuddhas, the Pacheka Buddhas, the Arahata Buddhas, as well as Anagamis, Sakurdagamis and Sotapannas, be they on the path or having attained the fruits. We may have also insulted the Sambuddha Shasana, the ministry of the Lord Buddha, and in having done so either knowingly or unknowingly, the demerit that we would have acquired today hinders our progress, hinders our attaining of the noble attainments. So let us all take a moment to seek forgiveness from those Aryas. May those Aryas forgive us, may they have the compassion in their hearts to forgive us, which they most certainly do. And any Aryupovada that we might have done, any slander, any abuse that we may have directed towards them be forgiven, in the hope that today, through the course of this sermon, may we all be able to attain the noble achievements of Sotapanna, Sakurdagami, Anagami and Arhat. Okay. So today there was a request last week to talk about the practical application of the Noble Eightfold Path. And I'll get to that. But before we cover that, because I can see some new faces, particularly today, it's useful for us to take a whistle-stop tour on why is it that we talk about the Noble Eightfold Path. See, there are various names for this. Some people call it the middle path. Madum Piliveta. The middle of what is the question. Is it the middle of two extremes? Is that what middle is? I like the word Noble Eightfold Path. I think, sometimes we struggle with the translations that have come through over time, but I think this one is good. This is a good one. The Noble Eightfold Path. So rather than calling it the middle path, I think it's good for us to refer to it as the Noble Eightfold Path. A path has to take us somewhere. That's why it's a path. And it's called the Noble Eightfold Path because as you enter, when you're at the gate, they check for a visa. They check your passport. Have you got permission to enter? And on that document, there has to be somewhere that it says your status. If your status is Arya, come in. If your status is Anarya, you're not ready for this yet. So, you've got to check what your status is right now. Because I can speak to you about the Noble Eightfold Path, and it's going to make sense to you if you have some understanding of what an Arya is, why we need to become an Arya, are you an Arya? Some of these questions. So therefore, I thought, let's just take a short summary, go back into some of the stuff we used to talk about in the past, and then we'll round it up and then bring it back to what it is we're trying to talk about today. So the Noble Eightfold Path is also referred to as the path to the cessation of suffering, or the path to the eradication of the causes for suffering. That's very important to understanding it in that way. Because this is a path that gets us somewhere, but this is a path that helps us eradicate not suffering, the cause for suffering. Dukkha samudaya. Not dukkha. Dukkha samudaya. Because you can't treat the symptoms. That's not the Buddha's way. You don't treat the symptoms, you treat the cause. When you treat the cause, the problem goes away and the symptoms disappear. So we have to treat the cause. And over the last, I suppose weeks and perhaps months, we've been talking a lot about what the actual cause for suffering is. Because everyone experiences suffering, day in, day out. It doesn't matter whether, what religion you are, whether you're black or white, whether you're tall or short, fat or thin, it doesn't matter. Whether you're a human or a Martian, it doesn't matter. We all experience suffering. There's jati dukkha, jara dukkha, vyadhi dukkha, marna dukkha. The death of decay, disease, birth, and death, right? So this suffering comes to us. That's not the problem we're trying to fix though, and that is the symptom. The symptom's there. What science and technology helps us do is to treat the symptoms. I think there are pills nowadays you can take that prolongs life. So you can put back your expiry date for as long as you can. There are pills, there are techniques that you can go through, procedures you can go through at the theater that make you look 10 years younger than you are, 20, 30 years younger than you are. That's treating the symptom. That's not treating the cause. The Buddha's way is to treat the cause, because once you've treated the cause, you're able to eradicate the problem once and for all. This is why it's called samudaya. Find out the cause and then eradicate the cause. So over the last, well, few sermons we did over the last, well, I suppose 50 sermons by now, 49, we've been talking a lot about where this suffering lies. And we've been spending a lot of time trying to understand that it's something that lives within us. There's a demon that lives within us that is the cause for this suffering. And that demon is nothing but desire. So it's that desire we need to uproot. So we spent a lot of time trying to, we went through lots of examples. And I asked you all to think about the times when you were unhappy, you were sad, you were frustrated, annoyed, disappointed. Each and every time there was an expectation that lay behind that. When the expectation was unmet, that's where disappointment crept in. Where expectations were met, that left you happy. So happiness or sadness, pleasure and suffering, the two sides of this coin are dependent on there being a coin in the first place. And that coin is nothing than tanha, attachment, desire. So what we are trying to do is actually uproot desire. So actually, the Noble Eightfold Path could be referred to as the path to the cessation of the cause of suffering. It could also be referred to as the path to the eradication of what? Attachment. They are one and the same, it doesn't matter how you call it, what you call it. So the key takeaway for us here is really, with the Noble Eightfold Path, we are trying to solve a problem that lives within us, not outside of us. This problem that lives in our mind, attachment. Attachment to all worldly things. That's what causes us suffering. And then to describe this experience, to describe this attribute and quality, when we went through several examples, we went through this game of putting scores to, the times when we have experienced pain, the pain that we go through to acquire what it is we desire. When you set that expectation, when you set that want, that need, hey, there's something I like, from that point forward, now you're waiting for that thing to be yours. That could be a physical thing, it could be a person, it could be an object, or it could be something conceptual. It doesn't matter what it is. The moment you set your mind to something, now you want to acquire it. But that anticipation wasn't there in your mind before desire set in. As soon as desire set in, now you want it. Things you don't want, I don't care what happens to it. I don't care where it is, as long as it's not something that you've set your mind to, fixed your mind on. Have you seen animals when they hunt, particularly in the cat family? I think lionesses are quite popular for this, and you'll have seen them on TV. When a lioness sets her target, there could be several other beasts that are equally potential food. But once she set her target, that is what I'm going to get to. The other animals are running here, there, everywhere. It's not her problem. But the animal on which she has set her eyes on, the animal on which she has set her mind on, that's the one I'm now going after. Where that animal moves, that's my problem. If it stops, great. If it keeps moving, that's my problem. Well, what about all the other animals? There's a herd of buffaloes. There's a herd of deer. None of the other animals are my problem. But that one thing you've set your mind on, that is my problem. Now think, aren't we all like that? People walk in front of us, several dozens of people come in, go. None of them are my problem. Think about your social circumstances, social situations you've been in. At school, at the workplace, your spouse. Before you set your mind on this is the person that's going to be my spouse, didn't matter what happened to him or her. You didn't know if she existed. He or she. But that moment when you thought, aha, you're going to be mine. Now, she's your problem. He's your problem. So the problem is always in setting that expectation, setting that attachment, setting up that link, building up that bridge. Once that bridge has been built, what you're saying is, my happiness depends on what lies at the other end of this bridge. My happiness lies on what happens to that thing that lies at the other end of this bridge. So we go through life building these bridges. And if you remember last week, I gave you this analogy of how a child plays with soap bubbles. Remember? The child takes some soap, puts in this stick, takes it out and blows into it. Now there's lots of soap bubbles. And that's a pretty sight, no question. Everyone enjoys that. Hey, look, isn't that beautiful? Yeah, it is. Until what? Until you do what? Until you go touch it. The moment you go touch it, what happens? Bursts. Now what's the child doing? It's crying now. Now it's sad. While the soap bubbles were out there, blowing in the wind, it wasn't a problem to the child. It was beautiful. But then the child thought, I want to go touch it. You touch it, the bubble blows, bursts, pops. Now the child's crying. This is what we always do, ladies and gentlemen. The things we see, the things we hear, the things we taste, feel, what we experience in this sensual world with our five senses. We want to make it ours. We want to make it mine. We want to make us part of ourselves. And as soon as you do that, as soon as that thought sets into your mind, kama vitakka, kama sankappa, I want to enjoy sensuality. As soon as that sets in your mind, you want to go touch it. The moment you touch it, you've planted the seed of grief. You've planted the seed of sorrow. You've planted the seed of lamentation, exhaustion, frustration, discontentment, disappointment. An ocean of suffering comes flowing your way. So who's responsible? You're responsible. Each and every one of us are responsible for the grief and the frustration that we're in. Nobody else. Nobody else. The person sat next to you is innocent. Your children are innocent. Your husband, your wife is innocent. They're innocent. Your employers are innocent. Your employees are innocent. The man who pulled up in front of you as you drove down the road today, he's innocent. But why did you point your finger at him then? Why did you start shouting at him, hey, how dare you pull up in front of me? The red light is innocent. So why did you get angry at the red light as you were driving up and green goes amber and red? Why are you shouting at the traffic light? It's innocent. The fault is with you. The fault is with each and every one of us. So let's stop shouting, let's stop blaming the traffic lights. Let's stop blaming our spouses. Let's stop blaming our kids and the guy next door and your employees. And I've seen videos where sometimes, people in their offices, they're working away. This guy who wants to take a photocopy, walks up to the photocopier, presses the button, nothing comes out. He goes back to his computer, tries it again, walks up to the photocopier, nothing comes out. Third time he goes in, nothing comes out. Now he opens the machine up, takes out the drum, puts it back in, and that blows some toner onto his shirt. That sends him ape mad. What he does next is picks up his computer monitor and comes and bangs it on the photocopier and throws everything all over the place. Angry, annoyed, ruins his day and possibly an opportunity of working at the place as well. Remember I think the other day I spoke to you about this guy who was watching football on his TV, and every time there was a goal was about to be scored, so the wife's at the background, she's switching off the TV with her remote control, just to see what this might do to this man. And every time a goal is about to be scored, she switches off the TV. So he's on the edge of his seat waiting for this goal. And the moment that guy kicks the ball, the TV goes off. It sends him mad. He's able to tolerate that 3, 4, 5 times, but the next time it happens, he picks up the TV and bangs it on the floor. He picks up his laptop and throws it around the floor, around the room, and destroys the place. Is he an Arya or an Anarya? As an Anarya. Why? Where's the problem? Outside. The TV is not working. The remote's not working. You flick the switch, the light doesn't come on. Where's the problem? Why do you go... You stupid thing. You get into your car, you put the key into the ignition. Come on, you stupid thing, I'm late for work. You want to drive off, you try to pull out and the car's not moving. You get out of the car and you see a flat tire. That sends you mad. Why? Where's the fault? With the car. Really? Well, yeah, a flat tire, that's not your problem. I mean, the problem there is not with you, but the problem to why you're suffering at that point in time is not the flat tire. That's not the car turning on. That's not the switch turning on. That's not the light coming on. That's not where the problem is. The problem is with you. If you're able to accept that, the problem is always with me, then you're ready to walk the Noble Eightfold Path. If you're ready to accept that it's attachment that is the cause for suffering, it's desire that's the cause for suffering, expectation that's the cause for suffering, now you're ready to walk the Noble Eightfold Path. Because, you see, ladies and gentlemen, until and unless you're ready to accept that that is the problem, it's pointless me ushering you into the Noble Eightfold Path. It's pointless. Because that's not going to fix your problem. Because the Noble Eightfold Path is not here to fix the problem that you think is the problem. If you're thinking the problem's outside, if you're thinking the problem is with that object, with that person, with that thing that's not working to my liking, then the Noble Eightfold Path is not going to help you. This is why when the Lord Buddha gave the discourse, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, he didn't start with the Noble Eightfold Path, did he? No, he started with the first noble truth. Dukkha Arya Satya. Then he went on to the second noble truth. Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satya. Then he went on and described, elucidated the third noble truth. The eradication of the cause for suffering. The uprooting of it. And then finally he gave us the path to do it. So it has to come in that order. This is how the Gautama Samma Sambuddhajanan Vahanse gave this discourse. And it will be exactly how Maitri Buddhan Vahanse will give that discourse. Exactly, word for word. He's not going to give the fourth, the third, the second and the first. All the Buddhas that came in before Gautama Samma Sambuddhajanan Vahanse, before him, gave the first sermon that all of the Buddhas ever preached. Was that? Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. And each time it was in that order. The first, second, third and the fourth noble truth. Because until you're ready to accept that the problem is with me, the Noble Eightfold Path is of no help to us. Because remember, we are trying to fix a problem that's internal. Okay? So, if we are ready to accept that, then we are ready to walk the Noble Eightfold Path. But you have to be ready to accept that with conviction. No matter who comes and says, even if a Buddha comes up to you and says, hey, I got it wrong, the problem's not with you, you're good, you're fine, the problem's with the other guy. You should be able to turn around and say, Venerable Sir, with all due respect, I am not prepared to accept that. I don't really care that you are a Supreme Buddha. what you're saying right now does not make sense. Because the problem is with me. If you're able to say that with conviction, then you're prepared to walk the Noble Eightfold Path. Before we start to walk the Noble Eightfold Path, let me explain to you something else as well. You see, because, okay, we're prepared to accept that it's attachment that causes us suffering. But the attachment to what? What is it that we are attached to? Because to go and remove attachment, say you had to remove a nail from somewhere. You need to know where the nail is. Having a hammer, turn it around, that's not going to be of help if you don't know where the nail is. If you've got a screwdriver, if you don't know where the screw is, it's no point having a screwdriver. You need to know what it is you're attached to. So what is it that we are attached to? Why have we all been born? Why do we go through in samsara? Yes, we are attached to something, but what is it that we are attached to? That's the question. Remember, over the last few weeks we talked about how you are nothing but this body and mind. That's it. There's nothing else there. There's a body and there's a mind. And all this rigmarole that happens in the mind, that's what we're trying to fix. Science helps you fix problems with the body. The Buddha's Dhamma helps you fix problems with the mind. So what is it that this mind does? How is it that it takes us in samsara? Thoughts arise, thoughts pass away. Arise and pass away, arise and pass away. They arise for as long as the causes are there for it to arise, for them to arise. And when the causes cease to exist, then these thoughts perish, they pass away. And the causes that are required for thoughts to arise are avidya, tanha, karma, ahara, and nibbana, as we discussed in the previous weeks. So that's again attachment, ignorance, kamma, ahara, which is nutriment, and nibbana, which is the process of production. When all the other requisites are there, then the process of production kicks in. And all sankatas, all conditioned objects arise and pass away. Okay? So, with that being the case, for your thoughts to arise and pass away, ignorance, where does ignorance lie? Is it outside? Where does ignorance lie? It's with us. It's internal. Do you have like a tank of ignorance somewhere inside of your body? No, there isn't a tank of ignorance anywhere. Ignorance arises with every thought. Ignorance is a condition. For as long as that condition exists, it's something like, it's like colored glasses. For as long as you have your colored glasses on, you're going to see the world not in true color, but the color of the spectacles that you're wearing, the color of the glasses you're wearing. So it's a condition. Take off the condition, now you're seeing the world as it really is. So ignorance is a condition. What about attachment? Attachment is caused by ignorance. But attachment again, being the result of ignorance, is there in every chitta that arises. Because every thought that arises because it attaches itself to something, to an object, to a thought object, aramana. And these aramana, these thought objects, these aramana, they come through your five senses. Your eyes, your ears, your nose, your tongue, and your body. Why? Self-preservation. Remember baby Natasha. Okay? For as long as this baby is alive and kicking, and for as long as this baby is crying, this baby has to be fed, And this baby is what? Nothing other than ignorance. Ignorance has to be fed, and ignorance is to be fed by the thought objects that we take in through our five senses. And they come in, and they are the food, they are the nutriment for thoughts to arise. So your chittas arise and pass away, with the nutriment being one of the causes for them to arise and pass away. Now, if you look at an Arahatun Wahanse, the nutriment is still there. Because, you know, when you become an Arahat, the world that you live in, that doesn't disappear all of a sudden. That's there, that's always there. That's not going to go away anywhere. That's there. So we're not trying to eradicate the world. We're not trying to put out the world. We're not trying to switch off the world. We're trying to switch off not that world, but the world that we build within us. That is the world we're trying to put out. Remember, there was once a Brahmin who went and asked the Buddha, where is the world? What does the world rest on? Where is it? And he says, the world lies on what? Dukkha. Dukkho loke patittita. So an Arahatun Wahanse is someone, an Arahant is someone who has eradicated dukkha, therefore the world along with it. But an Arahatun Wahanse lives in this world. Eats, sleeps, drinks, goes to bed, right? He does all those things. To do all those things, he's using the things that we have in the world, the objects that exist in the world. So they are absolutely essential for survival. So that's not the world we are trying to eradicate. That's not the world whose switch we are trying to turn off. The switch that we are trying to switch off is the world that lives, that we have created within our own minds. So if you look at the Noble Eightfold Path, the first step on that path being Samma Ditti. One, you see, arriving at the Noble Eightfold Path and the onset of Samma Ditti are one and the same. Once you have right understanding, you are on the Noble Eightfold Path. It's not one comes after the other. Does that make sense? It's not you go into the Noble Eightfold Path and then, hey, presto, I now have right understanding. That's not how it happens. It's not the other way around either. Right understanding and, oh, I'm on the Noble Eightfold Path. That's not how it happens. With right understanding, when that sets in, remember what right understanding is. The word right does not really cut it, and I think I've explained this several times in the past, because we're talking about Samma Ditti. Samma Ditti is really, you know, in the Satya Vibhanga Sutra, Sariputta Maharatan Wahanse explains, Katama Chauso Samma Ditti. Dukke Jnana, Dukkha Samudaya Jnana, Dukkha Nirodha Jnana, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada Arya Jnana, Ayang Uchatauso Samma Ditti. So as soon as you have been instilled, as soon as this insight has been installed, as soon as that software has been installed in your minds, in your consciousness, you are on the Noble Eightfold Path. And from that point forwards, you are traversing the Noble Eightfold Path. So they don't come one after the other. They both come together. It's one and the same. So what we have been spending a lot of time really talking about, and actually what really, if you think about it, because they are one and the same, the reason I've been talking to you a lot about what is suffering, what is the cause for suffering, how do we eradicate it, and why there is no other solution to it other than the eradication of suffering, and that is by attaining Nibbana, is to do what really? What have I been trying to do? Where have I been guiding you to? The Noble Eightfold Path. I've been holding your hand and bringing you to the Noble Eightfold Path. Because as soon as you understand that it's attachment that is the cause for suffering, as soon as you understand that actually suffering is, this suffering that we are trying to treat is one that is caused by attachment. And as soon as that knowledge, that wisdom, that comprehension sets in, that the only way I can relieve myself from the suffering, or I can redeem myself from suffering. And remember, last week we gave a distinction between these two. What do Anaryas try to do? They find relief from suffering. What do Aryas try to do? They try to redeem themselves from suffering. To redeem is to eradicate it so that it doesn't grow again, from the roots, uprooting. Redeeming, or rather relief, is simply pruning it. What you prune grows back up. It's like when you do gardening. You prune your shrubs and they grow up again. But all the pesky plants that you want to get rid of, them you uproot, so they don't grow back again. And that's the difference. So once you understand, once you comprehend that that is what I need to do, with that knowledge, with that comprehension, you are now on the Noble Eightfold path. So really, what we've been trying to do over the last, as many sermons we've been doing, I've been trying to hold your hand and bring you to the Noble Eightfold path. Nothing else. As soon as that understanding is with you, you are on the Noble Eightfold path. And you see, what's beautiful about this Noble Eightfold path, what's so fascinating about it, is that once you're on it, you're only going to go one way. It's a one-way road. Once you're on the path, this is why it's called this is why a Sotapanna is called a stream enterer. A stream flows which way? Towards or away from the ocean? Have you ever seen a stream that flows away from the ocean? No. Away from the seas? No, a stream always flows towards the sea. That is why when you're a stream enterer, that's why when you're a Sotapanna, you naturally flow towards the ocean. You naturally flow towards the sea. The sea of what? Nibbana. That's a natural process. You don't have to do anything deliberately. You don't have to do anything intentionally. And the Buddha was asked this question and he says, Na Chaitana Karaniya Sutra, there is nothing, monks, I tell you, you have to do through intention. Once the Kusala Sila, he says, when you have been instilled with Kusala Sila, then you are on the Noble Eightfold path. And for one who has been instilled with the Kusala Sila, the rest of the path is opened up. Walking on the rest of the path happens virtually automatically. Isn't that great? Once you're there, you don't have to do anything. The water takes you towards the sea. You don't have to do anything. Because that's why this understanding is so important. It's an understanding that takes you either this way or that way. Because it's the understanding of what it is that I'm trying to solve. I'm trying to solve the problem of suffering. What causes this suffering? Attachment causes this suffering. When you are 100% with conviction, you know that, then, we've always talked about this, right? Why do we do all the things we do in our life? To be what? To be happy. Every single thing we do in our life, from lifting a finger to cooking a meal, to going to school, to doing a job, to earning money, to building a house, to buying cars, getting married, having kids, all these things we do to be happy. So, I don't need to convince you to be happy. That is the purpose of your life, to be happy. And that's great, because this is the only thing that we've had to fix so far. Not installing purpose in your life. That's not what I had to do. Purpose was always there in your life, the purpose to be happy. What I had to show you, or what Kalyana Mitra Sevane gives you, the association with noble associates give you, is you're doing the wrong thing to be happy. Let's do the right thing to be happy. You already have purpose. It's like a wound-up car. A wound-up car has potential in it to move. No matter how you put it, no matter where you put it, it's going to move. It's going to go for as long as there is potential energy within it. What a Kalyana Mitra does what a noble friend does is he points the car in the right direction. So you all have energy, you all have purpose. I didn't have to give you energy or purpose. The energy and purpose to try and be happy, we've always had. Throughout samsara, we've had this. What we've had to do is to try and point that in the right direction. That's all we had to do. So once that's been pointed, once you've been pointed in the right direction, once the set of the sail has been done correctly, now you're guided towards Nibbana. That's an automatic process. So in this automatic process, the following steps that I described from the Noble Eightfold Path are things you're going to experience naturally. Here's the important thing I want you to understand. None of this you're going to have to do. These are things you're going to experience naturally. Of course you can deliberately, volitionally, intentionally practice the Eightfold Path. You can do that, but it's not going to take you to Nibbana. Because there's an Arya Ashtangika Marga and there's also an Anarya Ashtangika Marga. One leads you to Nibbana, the other leads you to good places, as in existence in the blissful plane. There's two, Arya and Anarya, even in the Ashtangika Marga. You know, we can offer flowers, we can do the Dasa Punya Kriya, the 10 meritorious deeds. You know, all of this is good things to do. What do we do when we observe precepts? When you observe Sil, you enter into a contract. Isn't that what we do? We enter into a contract. With whom? With ourselves. I swear, I solemnly promise to not take the life of another being. I solemnly promise to not steal, to not engage in sensual or sexual, whichever way you want to look at it, misconduct. And then depending on how many precepts you observe, you know, these are precepts that you observe for the duration that you want to observe these precepts. Now really, you see, if you take, I'll take an example, Samma Kammanta, Panatipata Veramani, Adinnadana Veramani, Kamesu Michachara Veramani, Ayanguchatauso Samma Kammanta. That can happen naturally, or you can do it by observing precepts, can't you? Take something as simple as, okay, think about this, a cow. Does a cow ever kill? You heard of a cow that stole anything and went to prison for it? Ever heard of a cow that engaged in sexual misconduct? No, that doesn't happen. Ever heard of a cow that lied to the guy next to it? Or spoke in harsh language? Ever heard a cow swear? No, that doesn't happen. So, you know, if that is what the Arya Ashtangika Marga is, if that is what the Noble Eightfold Path is, well then a cow's doing it better than all of us. I mean, think about it. A four-legged animal is doing it better than all of us. Because a cow's never going to steal. A cow's never going to kill. A cow's never going to engage in sensual misconduct. A cow's never going to lie. Is never going to use harsh language. Never going to gossip. Never going to engage in frivolous speech. None of that. So a cow is many steps ahead of us on the Noble Eightfold Path, if you look at it from that point of view. But that, I mean, that's, obviously you understand that that's nonsense. So the difference is really then a cow has not got the capacity to enter the Noble Eightfold Path. Why? Because it does not have the wisdom faculty. There's no prajna. Prajna indriya. The wisdom faculty, an animal, a four-legged beast, does not have that capacity. Therefore, it cannot enter the Noble Eightfold Path. Why? It hasn't got the capacity to be instilled with Samma Ditti. But you have the capacity to be instilled with Samma Ditti. You see how this is a journey that you have to take with understanding. You know, what I'm trying to give to you is, there's a distinction. There's a real, this is really important for us to understand this. It's only through coming to Samma Ditti, the rest of it falls into place. Because otherwise, you know, even four-legged animals are practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. That can't be the case. I mean, think about believers of other religions, Muslims, Christians, Hindus. If you really think about it, you know, there are Muslims who are more virtuous than a lot of us. The last thing they would do is steal something. But think about, you know, how you've conducted your lives. Have you never stolen anything? But a Muslim person, you know, there's a very slim chance that you'd find a Muslim person steal anything. Because by, you know, by the code of conduct that has been set forth by their religion, it's one of the most dire sins against their God, the Creator. You must not do that, and this is why, you know, in some of the Arabian countries, you know, if you steal, you know, you can have your limbs chopped off. It's such a heinous crime, so people don't do it. So if you don't steal, is that practicing the Noble Eightfold Path? You've got to think about these things. So it has to come with Samma Ditti. There is no Noble Eightfold Path without Samma Ditti. It's part and parcel of it. And to enter the Noble Eightfold Path, you have to have the understanding of the stuff that we've been talking about in the past, which is, you know, a desire is the cause for all suffering. And so the Noble Eightfold Path is what helps us eradicate desire. So through the abstinence or the abstention of theft, stealing, lying, killing, right, through these, there's something that has to develop, cultivate within us. Through the practice that we get by traversing the Noble Eightfold Path, the cause for suffering has to be eradicated. That doesn't happen for a cow. It doesn't happen for a Muslim person. It doesn't happen to someone who's a Christian. The cause for suffering is, you know, nothing happens to the cause for suffering. It doesn't go anywhere. It's always there with him. Why? For as soon as he understands that the cause for suffering is attachment, what happens? He's an Arya Shravaka. He's a disciple of the Buddha. Because it's only a Buddha that comes into this world and teaches. Attachment is the cause for all suffering. Nobody else can give that teaching. Nobody else can point the finger at the root of the problem. Only a Buddha can do that. So, Samma Ditti, therefore, is the understanding, is that understanding. With Samma Ditti, then along with that comes Samma Sankappa. So what is Miccha Sankappa? That's the opposite of it. You see, in other ways, in some ways, the Noble Eightfold Path has elements in it which is the complete opposite of the unmeritorious deeds, the Dasakusala. So in the Dasakusala, in the unmeritorious deeds, you have Panatipata, Adinnadana, Kamesu Michachara, Musavada, Pisunavacha, Parushavacha. So if you look at the Noble Eightfold Path, abstention from Panatipata, abstention from Adinnadana, abstention from Kamesu Michachara, Musavada, Pisunavacha, Parushavacha. But it's not through precept. It's something you're going to experience. I hope you're getting the message that I'm trying to deliver to you. It's something you're going to experience. It's something you're going to observe within you after a while of you having become a Sotapanna. You're going to look back at your lives. You're going to think about yourself and go, hey, I used to steal. I used to lie, but now I don't feel like doing it. You don't have to do it by purpose. You don't have to deliberately not lie. You don't have to deliberately not steal. It's not something you have to refrain deliberately. It's something that happens automatically, and therefore something that you experience. Does that make sense? It's something you experience. With sammaditthi you have planted the seed. Through continued noble association, through continued association with the Dhamma, listening to the Dhamma, practicing the Dhamma. What does practicing the Dhamma mean? Is that meditation? What does practicing the Dhamma mean? It's applying what you've learned into your practical lives, into your own lives. How does this relate to me? Because remember, we all have purpose, and that purpose is to eradicate suffering. Or rather, to be happy. To be happy all the time, what we've been trying to do is to relieve ourselves from suffering. Now we understand actually relief from suffering is so temporary. It comes and goes. And actually, if you were here last week, you remember how we spoke about, why is it that people don't like to attain Nibbana? Remember? Because you love what? Suffering. You love suffering. All Anaryas love suffering. But they don't see it. They don't understand the fact that they love suffering. Why? Because when there's no suffering, you can't relieve yourself from suffering. And therefore enjoy the pleasure that comes through the relief from suffering. So everyone that's attached to pleasure has to have suffering to relieve themselves from. When there's no suffering, well, what am I going to relieve myself from now? We gave the example of hunger. You eat, and then that relieves you from the suffering of hunger. Once you've finished your meal, now hunger's not there with you. Where do you now you now have to go and find another source of pain, so you can gain. So pain has to be there for you to gain pleasure. So when people say, I love pleasure, what you're also saying is, I love the suffering that comes with it. No suffering, no pleasure. No pain, no gain. So this relief business that we used to keep doing to relieve ourselves from suffering, that just doesn't work. We found out that. So therefore we are now trying to eradicate suffering. And to eradicate suffering, we enter the second step of the Arya Ashtanga Marga, Samma Sankappa. So Miccha Sankappa is Kama Sankappa, Vyapada Sankappa, and Vihinsa Sankappa. That's Miccha Sankappa. Kama Sankappa, Vyapada Sankappa, and Vihinsa Sankappa. Now again, what I want you to do is practice the Dhamma. Practice the Dhamma. What is that? What is that a short form for? Apply what you're now listening to, apply what you're hearing into your practical lives. To try and find happiness in our lives, prior to you coming across this Dhamma, aren't these the three things that you did? Kama Sankalpa, sensuality. Wasn't indulgence in sensuality that we used to do to find happiness in our lives? Indulging in sensuality through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. Indulging in sensuality. Instead of eating what you've got at home, you went out to a restaurant. Why? To indulge in sensuality. You weren't happy with a black and white TV, so you brought home a color TV. Why? Indulge in sensuality. You don't like to listen to the same music every day, so you go online and download a few new albums. Why? To indulge in sensuality. You don't like watching the same TV channel, so you keep changing the channels. Why? This is again what? Indulging in sensuality. Why did you go ask your mother, can you make me some vatalappam? Indulging in sensuality. Mom, could you bake that cake for me, please? That cake that I love? Why? Indulging in sensuality. What are you trying to do by indulging in sensuality? Trying to find what? What? Happiness. Kama Sankappa. Then there's Vyapada Sankappa. The business of pointing your finger outwards. You're making me sad. Stop doing what you're doing. Now I'm happy. You're making me angry. Change that shirt. I don't like the color of it. Now I'm happy. See, all this to try and find happiness, but doing the wrong things. Kama Sankappa, which these are thoughts based in sensual or indulgence in sensuality. Absolutely the wrong thing to do. If true happiness is what we are trying to find, then Kama Sankappa is absolutely the wrong thing to do. What you really need is Nekkhamma Sankappa. Nekkhamma Sankappa is renunciation. Renunciation doesn't necessarily mean going into robes. That is one kind of renunciation. Abhinikramane. Right? That's the renunciation that you see the monks over here have done, and these Anagarika sons here are preparing themselves to do shortly. That's that kind of renunciation. But the renunciation we are talking about is something that's mental, psychological. It's the understanding, or it's the practice of renunciating yourself from what? Indulgence in sensuality. All this time to find happiness, what we did was indulging ourselves in sensuality. We indulge our eyes in sights. We indulge our ears in sounds. Indulge our noses in smells. New perfume, don't you like that? New food, taste new types of food, different types of food. Isn't this why when you go to the restaurant you have a menu that has like 150 items on it? You know, if all you wanted to do was satiate your hunger, well, there only has to be one item of food on that menu. In fact, you don't even need a menu. Bring me whatever it is you've cooked, waiter, is all you have to say. But no, that doesn't work. Why? Because we're trying to be happy. And to be happy, you have to indulge in sensuality. That is Miccha Sankappa. What is Nekkhamma Sankappa? You understand that happiness is only something that lives within me. It lives within me, not outside. And every time you went to find happiness through indulgence in sensuality, what happened? Think about this. Think about this. What happened every time you went to indulge in sensuality? Weren't you subject to dukkha, viparinama dukkha and sankhara dukkha? When did indulgence in sensuality, when did sensual pleasure ever come to you for nothing? You always had to go after it. You have to go looking for it. You have to go build it, you have to go buy it, you have to go acquire it. And as soon as you've acquired what it is you've desired. Why? Indulgence in sensuality. As soon as you've acquired it, now you have to start, you've started suffering now. From what? Dukkha dukkha. What if? This is dukkha dukkha. What if? What if what? What if someone takes this away from me? What if someone steals it? What if this decays? What if this is destroyed? What if this falls apart? What if I lose it? You know, again, think back into your own practical lives. Whenever you went looking for happiness through the indulgence in sensuality, wasn't there always the question of what if? What if this doesn't work out? What if someone takes this away from me? You know, every single thing. The watch on your wrist, the necklace round your neck, the earrings that you wear, the clothes that you buy, that pair of shoes that you bought for yourself. Indulgence in sensuality. For the sights, the sounds, the smells, the taste. What if? That's the dukkha dukkha. You know, and the car you bought. If you remember I gave you an experience from my own life. When some time ago I was invited to a sermon, and this young man, he comes in his brand new, spanking new car. We get into it, and he drove up all the way to the monastery, but he was in there by himself. And then we got into the car. Now this is a new car, so it's a low-rise car. As soon as he starts moving, for those of you who visited us at the monastery, you will know the road isn't complete yet, right? So as soon as he drove into the onto the road. There are rocks that start hitting the floor of the car. And now he's in misery. He's in so much mental torture. You should have seen his face at the time. He was wishing I never came to pick you guys up. He was probably wishing, Swami Mahasa, could you not take the bus, please? It's probably what he was wishing at the time. You know, why did he buy that car though? What did he really buy? I mean, think about it, right? What did he really buy? Did he buy a car? Or did he buy the sights that he was going to experience through his eyes? Did he not buy the sights and the sounds and the smells? Well, clearly not the taste. You're probably not going to taste a car. But the sensations that you feel, the tactile sensations, isn't that what he paid so much for? Because if all you wanted was a means of getting from A to B, well, you don't really need a brand new car for that. Any old car does the job. But that's no good. It has to be the car that you like, it has to be the color you like. It has to have leather seats. Why? It has to smell of pine. Why? You're not buying the car, that's the problem. You're buying the sights and the sounds and the smells and the tastes and the physical sensations. That's what you're paying for. Why? Because that's what you need to do what? Self-preservation. For yourself to arise with every thought that arises. This is baby Natasha, by the way. You have to feed the baby. And the baby won't eat any old food. You have to give the food that it asks, it likes. You know, again, when you go into a restaurant, as I said, you're paying not for the food. It's not just the food that you're paying for, is it? Then, well, why do you have to go into a fancy restaurant then? As long as it's a clean restaurant, as long as the food is, you know, as long as you know that it's clean, it's hygienic, that should be good enough, shouldn't it? So why do you have to go into a fancy restaurant? What are you paying top dollar for? Is it really the food? No, it's not the food you're paying for. It's the sights, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, and the tactile sensations. That's what you're paying for. The food you paid very little. Have you never really, you know, gone into a fancy restaurant, sat down and you thought, I've paid so much for that? And they bring you such small portions? Isn't that how they serve you at fancy restaurants? You pay a lot of money and you get very small portions. You never had that thought? I have had plenty of times. Thinking, what am I doing in here? With that same money, if I had gone into a standard restaurant, I would have been able to eat, you know, I would have been able to, a mouthful, or at least I'd been able to, you know, be satisfied with that. An entire meal, I would have been able to buy with that money. But a fancy restaurant doesn't just give you food. Well, not just food for your tummy. It gives you food for all your senses. That's what you're prepared to pay top dollar for. That's all karma sankalpa. And when you want to enjoy those sensual pleasures, well, you can't just do any old job, can you? Now you have to earn big money. And to earn big money, you have to do a big job. To do a big job, you have to work hard. To work hard, you have to study hard. Now you see where all this started? Ultimately, when you really look at it, all this suffering that you went through was to not really satisfy the physical pains that you experience. It's to feed your mind. But nothing's left of it today, is there? None of that is left today. All those fancy restaurants you've been to so far, the 10-course meals that you've had, what's left today? Nothing. The next morning you wake up and you go and dump it all in the toilet. That's all that's left. But to enjoy through all your 5 senses, you went through a lot of pain. Abhisankara dukkha. See, when you go after kama sankalpana, you will suffer abhisankara dukkha. There's no question about that. Now, why did we go after kama sankalpana? To find what? Happiness. What are you really going through now? Suffering. Do you see why it's the wrong track to take? Why is the wrong path to go down? You're going after, you want happiness, but you're going down the path of suffering. And then vyapada sankalpana, this is the whole business of pointing your finger outside. Stop making me angry, you're making me angry. Stop annoying me. Pointing your finger outside. That's vyapada sankalpa. Feeling anger, frustration, disappointment. Avyapada sankalpa. That's samma sankalpa. When you understand that the problem is with attachment, well, who do you have to point your finger at now? What's the point of being angry at anybody? Anger is not going to fix the problem. Anger really isn't going to fix the problem. Frustration, disappointment isn't going to fix the problem. Because the problem is attachment. How can anger fix attachment? Tell me. How can being annoyed at somebody fix the problem of attachment? Anyone found a formula for that? No, because there is no such formula. Anger does not fix that problem. This is why every time we go through vyapada sankalpa, you're going down the path of miccha sankalpa. That's not the noble eightfold path. And then avihimsa sankalpa. Prior to entering the noble eightfold path, what we practiced was vihimsa sankalpa. Vihimsa is what? To hurt, to harm. You're prepared to hurt, harm other things, other people's property. What for? To find happiness. Hurting another person, hitting another person, shouting at them, taking the life of another being. Prepared to do all of that. Why? To find happiness. But the definition of happiness was entirely incorrect. That was the problem. You see, as soon as ultimately it's just the definition. The definition of happiness is what determines. Your definition of happiness is what determines which path you go down. If your definition of happiness is happiness can be gained by acquiring, building, accumulating, then you're going to go through kama sankalpana, vihimsa sankalpana and vyapada sankalpana. But as soon as you understand that's not the path to happiness, the path to happiness is to eradicate attachment, then you realize, how is me going and hurting somebody else? How is that going to help me eradicate attachment? How? There is no such formula. That just doesn't work. I mean, it's entirely logical, is it not? Does that not make sense to you? How does hurting somebody else, hitting somebody else, shouting at somebody else fix the real problem that is desire? Does it? No, it doesn't. And then samma ditti, samma sankappa, samma vacha. Abstinence or abstention from false speech. Again, we've talked about musavada in the past when we went through the 5 precepts and gave you the meaning behind the 5 precepts. The deeper meaning over and above the superficial meaning. We explained what musavada is, right? It's not just saying something's black when it's white. There's a deeper meaning behind that. The Buddhas, they come into this world and they talk about suffering is caused by attachment. They talk about the parama satya, the ultimate truth. What is the ultimate truth? The noble eightfold path. They speak of the noble eightfold path. For someone to come along and say, hey, no, that's rubbish. The noble eightfold path is rubbish. The 4 noble truths, that's rubbish. Sorry, that's, the 4 ultimate truths are, the ultimate truths are the 4 ultimate truths, which is the 4 noble truths. For someone to come along and say the 4 noble truths, that's just rubbish. That does not make sense. Be happy, just party, have fun. That's where happiness is. That's musavada. When you understand the problems with me, when are you ever going to encourage?
Go have a party, that's going to make you happy. I doubt any of you are ever going to say something like that to anybody. The other day, remember, we spoke of how today people treat Buddhism either as a devalaya or a repair shop. Remember? When a couple come together, or a guy and a girl, they want to get married, right? They go have their wedding ceremony and then they go to the temple and now they want to be blessed. Like you go into a devalaya. You go to the temple and say, "Oh, Venerable Sir, Swami Nuhansa, please can you bless us? Can you chant some pirit? Can you tie a pirit nola and bless us?" So that's like going to the devalaya. You buy a new car, you go and get a pandura from the devalaya and you tie it to your vehicle. Likewise, you go to the temple and you want the monk to bless it. This is what we use Buddhism for today. When a woman is pregnant, right, the couple goes to the temple and says, "Swami Nuhansa, can you please bless the child?" This is what people have come to use Buddhism for today. Okay, but hey, you're using it for the wrong thing. Where you really should have used Buddhism for, you're using the wrong tool for the wrong job. Where you really should have used it for was that moment when you thought, "I want to get married." That's when you should have run to the temple. "Swami Nuhansa, I feel like I want to go get married to somebody. Please help me." Not to find a bride. That's not what the Swami Nuhansa is going to do. He's going to speak to you. He's going to help you understand that with attachment comes suffering. What you're about to do, young man, is to go and attach yourself to another person. Or what you're about to do, young lady, is to go and attach yourself to another man. And with attachment, always comes suffering. Are you prepared for that? The dukkha dukkha, viparinama dukkha and sankhara dukkha that comes along with it. Are you prepared to do that? He shows you right from wrong. He shows you the true cause for suffering. That is what we need to use Buddhism for. To stop jumping into the pit. Not to stand by the pit and then to be blessed, "I hope I don't fall into it." Is to stop digging the pit in the first place. And then the other thing that people use Buddhism for is like a repair shop. You fall into the pit, now you run to the temple and go, "Oh, Swami Nuhansa, look at me. Look what happened to me. I'm in so much pain, my mother passed away. My husband died, my wife died, my child died, my vehicle got into an accident. Can you chant some pirit, tie a pirit nola and bless me? Help make my mind up." This is a repair shop. Can you fix me up? Can you repair me? I'm broken. Well, you should have gone for help before you got into trouble in the first place. You know, when you understand this, you've got to make this practical. This is what I'm saying. You understand now attachment is what causes you suffering. Are you convinced of that? Are you convinced that it's attachment that causes you suffering every single time? If that is the case, then when you feel that tiny tinge of attachment, when you feel that seedling in your heart, that one heartbeat pounding faster when you see that guy, when you see that girl, when you see that new car, when you see that house and you think, "Oh, I wish I'd had one of those." That's the time to go seek refuge from the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha. That's the time to drop everything else and run to the temple. Not after it goes wrong. Then it's too late. Not to be blessed. Then it's too late. So you see, once you understand that the problem is with attachment, after that, so we were speaking of, you know, when you see that the problem is always with attachment and you're convinced that attachment is the problem, are you ever going to speak to somebody and say, "Hey, it's all right, you know, get together guys. You're going to be happy living I wish you a happy married life." Anyone here had a happy married life? Think about this. Anyone from the day you got married never shed a tear? Never got angry for anything? Just even the tiniest bit? Anyone here after marriage never had to go through dukkha dukkha, viparnama dukkha and sankhara dukkha? So how can you bless, how can you wish someone, I wish you have a happy married life? Where does such a thing exist? That's a curse. By the way, guys, I'm not against. If you want to get married, get married. All I'm saying is, if you want to find happiness, happiness that is unconditional, marriage is not going to give you the answer to that. If you think I'm wrong, then point it out. Show me. Because otherwise I'm wasting my time. If you think I've got it wrong, no, so I mean, once a marriage, happiness. Marriage equals happiness. You can be perfectly happy in marriage. Then tell me so. And then you say, hey, you know, you've been married for some time. Don't you want to have a kid now? How many times did people tell me that? After I got married, and many times over, people used to come and say, hey, you've been married some time now, haven't you? It's about time you had a kid. You go back and ask them, any of you have had kids and because of them you've not had to shed a tear? Any mother, father here, put your arm up? I've never had to shed a tear because of my child. I've never been angry because of my child. Anyone? No, because along with that comes dukkha dukkha, viparnama dukkha, sankhara dukkha. Again, I want to emphasize this. If you want to get married, get married. I've got no problem with that. Have kids, have as many kids as you can. All I'm saying is, if you want to find true unconditional happiness, you cannot find that by going down that path. That's all I'm saying. Unconditional happiness cannot be found by building up conditions. Why? I mean, the definition of it is, you know, the clues on the tin. It's there, unconditional happiness. It's on the label. That happiness cannot be dependent on conditions. The happiness you found so far through marriage or through having kids or buying a house, buying a car, you know, doing a job, all these things were conditioned. Going on holiday, that's all conditioned. When the conditions were in your favor, you were happy. When the conditions were not in your favor, unhappy. I don't want happiness like that. I want happiness that's always happiness. Unconditional, unchanging. That's the kind of happiness I want. And if you want that kind of happiness, then the Arya Ashtanga Marga is the path to that. That is why Nekkhamma Sankappana is so important. Nekkhamma is that renunciation. You're not looking for happiness in the outside world or by relying on the outside things that exist in the outside world. So once you understand attachment is the cause for suffering, no longer are you going to go and proclaim, hey, be attached. Build up new attachments, new relationships. That's how you're going to find happiness. You're not going to say that. You're not going to advise people to do that. You're not going to condone that. Now, I mean, I understand, right? If your kids come to you and say, Tati, I saw this girl in class. I think I like her. Can I have your blessings to go get married? Now you're probably thinking, what should I say now? I understand that attachment causes suffering, but my son's not prepared to become a monk. He wants to live a lay life. What am I supposed to do now? I'll tell you what you're supposed to do. As a responsible parent, explain to him what causes suffering. Explain to him that happiness is not in the person outside. Explain to him that happiness is really within you. Explain to him that for as soon as you get into this relationship, you're going to have to nurture this relationship. You're going to have to nurture this relationship. You're going to have to act in ways that she wants you to act. You're going to have to speak the words that she wants you to speak. You're going to have to walk the way she wants you to walk. You're going to have to sleep the way she wants you to sleep. You're going to have to change and adapt your life to the way that she wants you to live. All of that, dear son, is abhisankara dukkha. Whether you like it or not, if you want her to be with you, then you have to go through abhisankara dukkha. That's 1/3 of it. And then you ask the question, would you like me to continue? He'll either say, no thank you, and walk away. I wish I hadn't spoken to you, is what he'll probably say. Or if he's a clever young man, he'll say, yes dad, please continue. And then you'll go on to say, that's just abhisankara dukkha. What about viparinama dukkha? Are you getting married to someone that's never going to die? Are you going to have this relationship with someone who's never going to grow old, age, fall ill? Is that the kind of person? Is that, is this person you're attached to, is it that kind of person? He's going to say no. And then you ask the question, well, the day she dies, how's it going to make you feel? You're sure, right? She's going to die one day. Any doubts? No, Dad, I get it. Yes, she's going to die one day. Well, how's that going to make you feel then, when that happens? And if he says, well, that's not, we've got a life ahead of us, maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Afterwards, that's probably when it's going to happen. Then, you take him in front of the computer, you sit him down, bring up YouTube, and type in untimely deaths. Right? And show him videos of how people that thought that they were going to live a happy married life. You go back to old newspaper articles. And you explain, because, clearly your son he does not have a right view. He does not understand how things work in the world. Recently I met a young child who came to the monastery. And for those of you who come to the monastery, you'll know on a Saturday afternoon, at the end of the sermon that we have, we usually show a video. And in this video, we show how beings suffer from dukkha dukkha, jati dukkha, vyadi dukkha, marana dukkha, and so on, right? So this child, he comes up to me and he asks me, that people that you showed dying in the video, how old do you have to be to die? He asked me this question, how old, Swami Nuhansa, do you have to be to die? And I said, how old do you think you have to be to die? Well, I'm not going to die until at least I'm 60, right? That's the minimum age of death. I said, dear son, unlike drinking, driving, there is no minimum age to death. When death comes your way, doesn't matter how old you are. You could be an infant. If it's time to go, it's time to go. He was shocked. Now you're thinking, hey, poor child, he didn't even know that. Well, what about your son that just came and asked you, Dad, what do you think about that girl? Would you mind if I pop the question? So if he's thinking, well, I'm going to live happily with her for the next 60 years, ask him the question, do you understand that your plan is to live for another 60 years? But that may change. The question I asked my parents when they came to see me last time. Appachi, do you have any doubts that Amma's going to die one day? Amma, do you have any doubts that Appachi is going to die one day? That day is going to come. When that day comes, are you prepared to go and stand in front of his or her body and then have a state of mind where you're not going to be shedding tears, where you're not going to start pulling your hairs out? This is the question you've got to ask your son. And explain to him what viparinama dukkha is. If he's going to jump into a pit not knowing about the fires and the wild beasts that live inside the pit, are you a responsible parent? If he still decides to go ahead, that's fine. You've armed him. You've educated him. Then it's fine. He's now got to he's made his own choice, now he's got to live with the consequences. But if you haven't taught him the reality, if you haven't taught him the true nature of what comes along with attachment, then I doubt you can call yourself a responsible parent. And then you'll ask him the question a second time, son, so that's viparinama dukkha, would you like me to continue? So again he's either going to say, no dad, I wish I hadn't spoken with you, and he's going to walk away, I'll go speak to mom, or he's going to say, yes, please continue. And then you'll say, well, what about dukkha dukkha? The moment now you feel, you have thoughts for that girl, right? You have feelings for that girl. He says, yes. How would you feel if someone else had feelings for her? How would that make you feel? No, I wouldn't like that. How would you feel if someone else came and spoke with her, held her arm, touched her hand, sat down next to her, put an arm around her neck? How would that make you feel? I wouldn't like that at all. How would you feel if she cheated on you? I wouldn't like that at all. Are you sure that's never going to happen? Are you guaranteed that that's never going to happen? And he'll say, yep, I'm absolutely sure. She's a nice girl, she comes from a very good family, and she's never going to do that. What do you do again? You take him, go and sit in front of the computer, and bring up YouTube. There's plenty of good stuff on YouTube. There are programs that I used to watch as a layperson, how couples, they cheat on each other, and then sometimes they hire private inspectors to go and catch them in the action before they file a court case. Or each and every one of them, when they got together, they thought, oh, you're my soulmate. Never am I going to cheat on you. I'm always going to be 125% faithful. Yeah, right. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I've said this many times and I'll say it over again. No one loves the other guy. We don't love each other. Who do we love? Ourselves, indeed, sir. It's ourselves we love. Remember that guy who said to the girl, your happiness is my happiness? What did the girl ask the guy? Well, if that is the case, would you mind if I slept with the guy next door, because that's what makes me happy? When did that guy ever say, okay, that's fine? That never happens. Why? Because we only love ourselves, never the other person. And please tell me if what I'm saying is not true. While what I'm saying might hurt, it might be painful for some to listen to this. Because, a world you built for yourself thinking, hey, I've got my parents, I've got my husband, I've got my wife, my best friend, I live a happy life because I feel so loved. Have you never felt that way? I feel so loved by everyone that lives with me, that lives around me. All my friends, they all love me so much, they cherish me. And now I'm telling you, none of them really meant any of that. All we're interested in is self-preservation. And for self-preservation, you have to get the Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana that we like, not what the other person likes. Suppliers and consumers. That's an old sermon. Go back and listen to that. This world is full of suppliers and consumers. Atta Deepa Viharata. Live like you're an island. Who said so? The Buddha said so. Why did he say that? No one else comes to your rescue. When you're an island, you've got to be self-sufficient. The problem's with you and the answer is with you as well, not outside. They're both with you. So again, let's go back to the Arya Ashtanga Marga. Because you see, I'll keep coming back. Why? Because we need to remind ourselves where the problem lies. Not outside, the problem's always with us. And that's what this Noble Eightfold Path is here to help us solve the problem. That's what it's providing a solution for. We have to constantly keep reminding ourselves, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve here? If you're trying to solve the problem outside, if you're trying to solve the problem with this machine, the Noble Eightfold Path is not going to help you with that. See, really simple example. Machine doesn't work. You get angry. Which of these two problems can the Noble Eightfold Path help you solve? The first or the second? The second. Your child You ask your child to do his homework before you got home. Hasn't done the homework. Makes you angry. Which of these two problems can the Noble Eightfold Path help you fix? The first or second? The second. The first is not going to help. Noble Eightfold Path cannot help you fix the first problem. A good stick is going to help you fix that. Not the Noble Eightfold Path. Because that Noble Eightfold Path is for noble people. Noble people are the Aryas who understand that the problem is with me, not outside. The problem is with me, always. So once you understand that, you're not going to go around giving false speech, inciting avidya and tanha in other people, because you understand the moment avidya and tanha creeps in, suffering is the end result. So therefore, your abstention from musavada is automatic because of your right understanding. It's not something that you have to do deliberately. It's something you're going to experience happen within you. It's like when that plant grows, you planted the seed, there was a seedling first, and then now it's a little plant, it's growing. What the Noble Eightfold Path is, ladies and gentlemen, is as you observe this plant, you're going to start to see it shoot. Leaves start to appear. Tiny twigs start to appear. These branches, they start to appear. The Noble Eightfold Path is just that. You're observing that plant and you're seeing these parts of the plant appear. And then over time, flowers are going to start blooming. This is the change that you're going to experience within yourself. All of that automatic. All you have to do is step foot. This is a slope. Once you step foot, you're going to go on it. Okay? So, musavada veramani. Pisunavacha veramani. Parushavacha veramani. That's abstention from false speech, abstention from gossip. Gossip, why? Why gossip? Because what did we use gossip for all this time? To do what? To find what? Happiness. When you see two people and they get along really well, you don't like that. You want that person to be your best friend, not that guy's best friend. What do? You go and gossip. You say, you know what that guy said behind your back? He said he said this behind your back. And you break up that relationship. Why? Now you can be his best friend, her best friend. That's one of the 10 unmeritorious deeds, with dire consequences. But to be happy, you're prepared to do that. Parushavacha veramani, harsh speech. So this is speech that hurts the listener, another person's feeling. Now yes, I've heard people say, well, how can I be responsible for what the other person feels? I said this with good intention. He took it the wrong way. Yes, that's acceptable. And we spoke about Tathagatan Mahanse, and how when he addressed Potila as Tucha Potila, right? The Buddha didn't commit an unmeritorious deed. That was not harsh speech. If the intention is there to hurt someone through using speech, well, think about this, parents. When you shout at your child, does that not hurt their feelings? Is that not harsh speech? So what should you do now? Not shout at your children? There's no answer to that question. You brought them into this world. Now you've got to make good citizens out of them. So you have to do that by using words or the cane or whatever means necessary. You have to try and bring them up to be good people. You brought them into this world. Yes, when you use harsh words, if it hurts their feelings, that is harsh speech. There's no question about that. Yes, you have intention to do good for them. But remember, the reason you use harsh speech is to relieve yourself from suffering. At least a tiny bit. When was the last time you shouted at your kids and you inside didn't feel the tiniest bit of anger? Not the tiniest bit. It was all a make-up. It was all, an act. When was that? When did that ever happen? Did you never feel just the tiniest bit of anger? Chances are you did. And you justify that. You justify that how? Well, if he's doing the wrong thing, I have to shout at him. I have to hit him. In doing that though, you're trying to do this to relieve yourself from suffering. You're suffering because you're now in affliction. You're now in pain. Because something that your child did was not to your liking. So the problem's outside, right? Now you have to fix it. You have to fix it by doing what? Admonishing the child, shouting at him, scolding him, or hitting him. For as long as self lives within you, for as long as that self-view exists, not even the view, for as long as a self exists within you, when you shout at somebody, if that hurts their feelings, that is harsh speech. Only an Arahatun Wahanse can really shout at somebody or use words that are directed at somebody to correct them, to rectify their habit or their conduct, will do so to not relieve themselves from suffering, because there's no suffering with them, full stop. Whenever you're doing something to relieve yourself from suffering, you're either doing a meritorious deed or an unmeritorious deed. It's one or the other. One or the other. And all of us, including myself, if we shout at somebody, why? Because there's a self that lives within us. We are doing so to relieve ourselves from suffering. Partly, at least partly. Yes, you want to fix the child, you want to get him not to do that bad thing again. So you have that good intention as well. So there's a good and a bad that happens at the same time. Kalla sukkam, kalla sukka vipakam. Good and bad. Good because you're trying to prevent him from doing something wrong again, but bad because you've used harsh speech to do that. Okay? And then Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Vayama. Samma Kammanta, sorry. So that's abstention from taking the life of another being, abstention from stealing, and abstention from engaging in sensual misconduct. Sexual or sensual, we've discussed that in the past, right? You can take it whichever way you like. But the Buddha never limited his doctrine to sexuality. I mean, that really wasn't a big part of his teaching. He spoke a lot about sensuality though. This is engaging in sensual pleasures through all five senses. Not just sexuality, that's just a small part of it. Kamesu michachara. Kama. Why do we only talk about the sparsha kama? What about the rupa kama? What about the shabda kama, gandha kama, rasa kama, sparsha kama? All of this is kama. So we can't pick and choose the things that we want to follow and then discard the other stuff. That's not the Noble Eightfold Path. It all comes as a package and we have to take the whole thing as a package. So that's Samma Kammanta. Then there's Samma Ajiva. So in our quest and purpose in life, to be happy, previously we had thoughts of Miccha Sankappa. So our thoughts were based in Miccha Sankappa. And we spoke of what that was. Our thoughts were based in Miccha Vacha. Our thoughts and our conduct was based in Miccha Kammanta. Right? So now, we've redefined the purpose of our life. Well, not necessarily the purpose, but how we want to achieve that purpose. The purpose is still happiness, but previously that happiness was conditional, but now it's unconditional. Previously it was by acquiring and attaching ourselves to conditioned things, but now we realize that every time we attach ourselves to conditioned things, what happens? We get a package. And that package has 3 labels on it: dukkha, dukkha, viparinama dukkha, sankhara dukkha. And we realize that that is never going to be the true path to happiness. So now, our practice in life, our purpose in life is actually to renunciate ourselves. So for that purpose and that path to purpose, To the Noble Eightfold Path, we dedicate our lives. Really, Samma Ajiva is nothing other than that. It's dedicating your life to the Noble Eightfold Path. Why? For whose benefit? My benefit? Is it because the Buddha said so? Who are you practicing the Noble Eightfold Path for? Who? Ourselves. Why? To find happiness. Why? Because what I did to find happiness all this time was going about it the wrong way. Now I find the right way. All the other rituals and practices that we used to practice were all vata. These are all vatas, or virtues. Sorry, not virtues, but practices and rituals. Now you understand that the only ritual that will really help me eradicate suffering is the Noble Eightfold Path. And to that I dedicate my life. That is Samma Ajiva. Then you move on to Samma Vayama. So that's right effort. So there's 4 parts to this. 1 is any unwholesome deeds and thoughts that you've experienced or you've conducted yourself in the past, you will not give opportunity for that to arise again. Again, this is not a deliberate thing, by the way. Remember, the Noble Eightfold Path is not a deliberate practice. It happens. You can stand by to a side and observe it. This is what, I hope that point is come across to you clearly by now. Okay, you're observing this happen within you. Because your purpose is there to find happiness. That hasn't changed. So the things that you used to do to find happiness in the past, any of that stuff that was unmeritorious, unwholesome, you are not prepared to do it again. Why? Not for the benefit of for the person that you hurt or harmed previously, but you understand, doing that is not going to take me to my goal. Remember last week I said, to fulfill the path, you have to have self. I gave you the example of standing on top of a tree and cutting the branches off, all the while wanting to jump to the floor, or rather come to the ground. You don't jump off the tree because it's too high. What you do is, while you're standing on top of the tree, you use a saw and you start cutting bits of it off. You cut it in the shape of an L, so you can step on top of it and then cut the other bit off. And then you carve another bit of L off. You step on the other bit. And likewise, you cut steps for yourself. And then with every step, you descend the tree. All the while standing on the tree. And that tree is the self. You have to have self. To fulfill the path, all the way until you become an Arahant, self has to be there. If not, who wants to attain Nibbana? I want to attain Nibbana. Who wants to become a Sakurdagami? I want to become a Sakurdagami. So what happens if, as soon as you become a Sotapanna, I go away? No more I, no more self. Then there's no one that wants to become a Sakurdagami after that. You will not become an Arahatun Vahanse if at the point of becoming a Sotapanna, self disappears altogether. Self has to be there all the way until you become an Arahatun Vahanse. We discussed that in detail at the previous sermon, so just a reminder. So, but what you understand now is the things that I did to find happiness in my life were the wrong things. Whenever I conducted myself in the unmeritorious deed, all that brought me was suffering. Now I understand that's the wrong thing to do. I'm looking for happiness for myself. Therefore, I will abstain from the unmeritorious deeds. Why? Because if you do that, then who's going to suffer again? You're going to suffer again. Therefore, I abstain from them. And the unmeritorious deeds that I haven't performed as yet, I mean, if I ask you the question, you can answer it to yourself. You don't have to put your arms up, right? Think about the 10 unmeritorious deeds. There'll probably be 1 or 2 that you can say, I've never done this in my life, ever. Especially when they, the young kids around here. This is why, we encourage young people to come and ordain. Because as soon as you come and ordain, we take away the opportunity for them to engage in unmeritorious deeds. There's no opportunity for that. Because you're always in the association of Swamin Vahanses and noble people who are diligently and constantly striving to practice the path, refraining from the unmeritorious deeds. But when you live a lay life, when you're in society, when you go out to the world, when you go to school, when you go to your workplace, What do people encourage you to do? Unmeritorious deeds. All the time. What do you see on TV? What do you see on Facebook? Right? So, but at least, there'll be one or two things perhaps you can think in your own lives and say, hey, that thing I've never done in my life. Once you've entered the Noble Eightfold Path, you will not want to do it again. You will not want to do it again. Not a deliberate, hey, I'm not going to do that. You will not want to do it. Because you understand the world as being anicca, dukkha, anatta. You understand that there is no essence to be gained by going after this. By taking someone's life, there's nothing to be gained. By stealing, there's nothing to be gained. Because what are you doing when you steal? You're taking something material or conceptual, right? You're taking something material or conceptual, expecting happiness to be where? In that object. But now you understand happiness does not lie in that object. Happiness is with me. So why do I have to exert myself then to go and take something that doesn't belong to me? What's the point? You see? You begin to question what is the point in conducting the unmeritorious deeds. When you begin to understand there's no point in doing it. I mean, think about the things you've been doing in your life. As soon as you understood what's the point in doing this, did you not stop doing it immediately? As soon as you understood what's the point in doing this, you go ask a question from someone, Ammi, why are you asking me to do this? This is pointless. At least you challenge. Right, say I asked you to, let's say there were some bricks over here. And I say, hey, can you do me a favor? You go, yeah, sure, what can I do for you? Can you pick them up and move them to the other side of the room? Yeah, sure. Okay, you've completed, you come to me and say, right, I've done it. I go, oh, can you do me another favor, please? Yeah, sure. Can you pick those bricks up and put it back where you got them? Go, you sure you want me to do that? Yeah, please. Okay, you do it a second time. And as soon as you come back and you ask me, is everything? Actually, no, there's just one more thing I want you to do for me. What's that? Can you please pick those bricks up and put them back where you've got them? Are you going to do it a third time? No, what are you going to ask me? What is the blooming point? What's the point in doing this? If you tied a cow, or if you got a cow to do it, right, a bullock, and you got the cow to do it, the cow's never going to come and question, why am I going up and down every day? The cow's not going to question it, because the cow doesn't have intelligence. An animal doesn't have intelligence. It has instinct to live life. Eating, sleeping, drinking, and procreating. It has instinct that guides those actions. But as being born human beings, we have intelligence. And therefore we question what is the point in doing this. So once you've defined your purpose, and you understand that happiness cannot be found in the things that I've been doing up until now. Happiness cannot be found in indulging in sensuality. Happiness cannot be found in conflicting, getting into conflicts with other people. Happiness cannot be found in hurting or harming somebody else. That was where we started with Samma Sankappa. Once your thoughts are there, would you ever go and do unmeritorious deeds again? Because you're going to ask the question, what is the point? Right? So those are the two. And then the other two. The meritorious deeds that you have done so far up until now, you realize, hey, these are good things that I have to do. I have to continue doing them because they create the environment for me to practice the path. So you're going to continue doing them. Offering alms, worshipping the Buddha, respecting your parents, helping them at home. Right? All these good things. Going to the temple, offering, helping poor people. They're all good things. And you're going to continue doing them. Listening to the Dhamma, finding time to practice the Dhamma. All of these things are good things. If you've done it in the past, you're going to find opportunities to do them again, and they're going to continue to happen. Again, not deliberately. It's going to happen. You've got to do something with your life. You wake up in the morning, you're going to have to do something. You can't just sit on your backside all day doing nothing. That's an Arahatun Wahanse is perfectly happy with doing that. Why? Because he's fulfilled the path, there's nothing left for him to do. But for all of us, we have stuff that we still have to do. So the things that we choose to do are to refrain, abstain from the unwholesome deeds, and to conduct and cultivate the wholesome deeds. And the wholesome deeds that you haven't done in the past, you're going to find opportunities to do them. It's just going to happen. So that's Samma Vayama. So Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati. So Samma Sati is right mindfulness. Again, remember, right doesn't cut it. How do you know right from wrong? What's right? 2 + 2 = 4. Yeah, that's right. That's not Samma Sati. That's not Samma Ditti. What's this in my hand? It's a winnowing fan. Is that Samma Ditti? It's right view. It's not Samma Ditti. So right doesn't cut it. So what is right mindfulness then? I'm sorry I have to use that term, but we'll continue because that's the term. Because if I use another term, people listen to this sermon will have no clue what it is I'm talking about. So we have to base ourselves in what is customary and then find a way to come out of it. That is what we're going to have to do, and we'll continue doing that. So what is Samma Sati? So the Lord Buddha speaks of Kaye kayanupassi viharati atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abijja domanassa vedananupassi viharati atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abijja domanassa chitte chittanupassi viharati atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abijja domanassa. And then dhammanupassi viharati atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abijja domanassa. Vinaya loke abijja domanassa. Very important. What is Vinaya? What is Vinaya? Discipline. What are we trying to discipline? What are we trying to discipline? Our minds. We are trying to discipline our minds. Vinaya loke. Again, we're speaking about the world. What world are we trying to discipline? What do Anaryas try to discipline? Which world do Anaryas try to discipline? The world outside. That's why they pick up guns and bombs and sticks and canes and knives and all that kind of stuff. But you can't discipline the thing that you have to discipline by picking up any of those. You know, weapons don't help you do that. Not those weapons anyway. Vinaya loke abijja domanassa. Abijja domanassa. Abijja here in this context is another word for attachment. Domanassa here is another word for aversion. Alima gatima. Attachment and aversion. Conflict. It's with these two things that we create this world, the world that we've created within us. That is what we need to discipline. And to discipline ourselves, to discipline our mind, we use Kaya-anupassana, Chitta-anupassana, Vedana-anupassana and Dhamma-anupassana. I'll briefly speak to you about what each of these things are, but I think to describe them in detail, we're going to have to use at least one sermon for each of them. At least a 3-hour sermon for each of them. I'll briefly describe to you what each of these are. So, Kaye Kayanupassi Viharati. Now, customary for people when they practice meditation and they develop Kaya-anupassana, sometimes people practice walking meditation. Sometimes they practice breathing meditation. Right? There's all types of meditation. None of them are bad, and I haven't got anything against that. But what we need to ask ourselves is, how does it help us achieve the aim, which is what? Vinaya loke abijja domanassa. I'm walking. Left foot forward, right foot forward. Left foot forward, right foot forward. How does that help me discipline abijja domanassa? How does that help me discipline attachment and aversion? Question. Or you sit down and practice breathing. You concentrate on your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Short breath in and short breath out. A medium breath in and a medium breath out. A long breath in and a long breath out. By the way, I've practiced all of this. But again, question. By the way, I'm not insulting anyone who does this. Please don't take it that way. If you take it that way, you've taken something that I've not said, okay? I am not insulting, I have no intention to insult anybody. Anyone who practices that kind of meditation, at least they're doing something that most of us are not doing. When most of us are going after sensual indulgence, at least they are sat down practicing Kaya Anupassana the way they know to practice the Noble Eightfold Path. Right? So I just want you to think about this. How does that help us achieve the goal that we've set for ourselves? Which is Vinaya Loke Abhijja Domanasa. How does practicing or reflecting on breathing in and breathing out help you eradicate aversion and attachment? I asked the question once. So here's the answer I got. The answer I got is, when you practice this meditation, after a while, your mind's going to be focused on one thing. So that was what was explained to me as samadhi. Your mind's is going to focus on, is going to come to a samadhi state, and at that point, well, actually, up until that point, all the teachers that I went to had the same thing to say. But after that point, people, the teachers I went to had different things to say. Some said, you're going to start to see the world break up into tiny bits. You're going to see all objects, all natural phenomena break up into tiny little pieces. And they're going to come together and they're going to fall apart. They're going to come together and they're going to fall apart. And they even warned me, be prepared because that's going to scare the daylights out of you. And I'm thinking, hang on a second, the Buddha gave me a path to find happiness, and you're telling me when I practice the Noble Eightfold Path it's going to scare the daylights out of me? I've got a problem there. Others said, when you practice this single-mindedness, as in focus on your breath, or focus on left foot forward, right foot forward, left foot forward, right foot forward, when you focus your mind on that, what's going to happen is you're going to feel yourself start to float, levitate. And when that happens, you're going to feel that all attachments that you have, particularly to the ground, have now ceased because now you're levitating. And then you're going to start floating all the way up. And then at one point, you're going to start to experience the parts of your body dismember. And then it's all going to go to nothing, which I've heard the word shunya being explained in some contexts. Zero, nothing. When it goes to nothingness, be rest assured that you have now attained Nibbana. But when your body starts to break up into parts, don't worry, don't be scared, might scare the daylights out of you, but don't think too much about it. Again, I'm thinking, hang on a second. So I had various teachers that taught me various things, and when I first heard them, I took them at face value. I was prepared to go to meditation classes. I sat down and practiced this for sometimes many weeks on end. So I practiced lots of these different techniques. But no one could offer me a logical path to the eradication of attachment and ignorance. That I couldn't find. And that's when I decided to change my, I have to go looking for this again. I haven't found it. Just the same as Prince Siddhartha went looking for the real path. Because what I realized was, this is not helping me eradicate attachment and suffering. But then actually when you go and study the scripts, when you go and study the Tripitaka, you can clearly see the practice that you do has to help eradicate avidya and tanha. Kaye kayanupassi viharati atapi sampajano. Reflect on the conduct of your body. What is it that we are trying to vinaya? What is it that we are trying to discipline? Raga, dvesha, moha. The Buddha's definition of Nibbana is Ragakyo, Dveshakyo, Mohakyo, Nibbana. There is no other definition he gives to Nibbana. That is what Nibbana is. The discipline of raga, dvesha, moha. And if, actually, in fact, I think, the day before yesterday, someone asked me, isn't Nibbana shunya? Isn't that what Nibbana is? Shunya being zero. Where nothing. Isn't nothingness Nibbana? I said, not the Nibbana that I know. The Nibbana that I know is not nothingness, but it is zero. In what? Raga, dvesha, moha. Zero raga, zero desire, zero aversion, zero delusion. That's Nibbana. Not zero me, not zero, not nothing. That's not Nibbana. Certainly not the Nibbana that I know and I understand. So when you conduct your body through Kaya Anupassana, or when you reflect on your feelings through Vedana Anupassana, or when you reflect on your thoughts through Chitta Anupassana, what you do is you think about the way I conduct my body right now, does that help me discipline myself? Discipline myself such that I can put out the fire of desire, aversion and delusion. So how do we do this? When you use your body to do whatever it is that you do, right? You take a walk, you go out, you get into your car, you pick up the phone to call somebody. Ask yourself a question. Am I doing something that's going to put out the fire of desire, aversion or delusion, or am I doing something that's going to ignite the fire of aversion, desire, aversion and delusion? Being mindful. What am I doing this for? Ask yourself the question. So again, you walk, left foot forward, right foot forward, there's no problem with that. But you have to ask yourself a question. Why am I putting my left foot forward? Where is it I'm going? Am I going on a journey that is fruitless? Am I going on a journey that's going to cause harm to somebody else as well as myself? Am I going on a journey, am I taking a journey that's going to ignite the fire of desire, aversion and delusion? Or am I taking a journey that's going to put out the fire of desire, aversion and delusion? If it's the latter, great. If it's the former, don't do it. Now that kind of Kaya Anupassana, I can clearly see how that helps me vinaya loke abhijja domanassa. How that helps me discipline and remove attachment and ignorance. But again, you have to have started with Samma Ditti. If you're not based in Samma Ditti, you can't practice mindfulness. Certainly not the Arya mindfulness, certainly not the noble mindfulness. That just cannot happen. Because how do you know when you conduct yourself whether this is something that's causative towards Sang or causative towards Sangma? How do you know when you don't even know what Sang is? When you don't understand that Sang is the problem, ignorance and attachment is the problem, when you don't understand that, how do you know? And then the feelings that you experience, be they pleasurable, unpleasurable or equanimous. These feelings that I experience right now, think about the things that you do when you want to experience pleasure, right? There are things that you would do. So these feelings that I experience right now, are they helping me put out the fire of desire, aversion and delusion? Or are they igniting the fire of aversion, delusion, desire and delusion? Are they adding fuel to that fire? And then Chitta Anupassana, the thoughts that you have. It could be when you've got nothing to do after you've had your afternoon meal, you're sat down in front of the TV, nothing to watch, perhaps you switch off the TV and now you go into dreamland and you're thinking about something. These thoughts that you're having right now, what thoughts are they? What kind of thoughts are they? Are they Kama Sankalpana? Are they Vyapada Sankalpana? Are they Nekkama Sankalpana? Are they Avyapada Sankalpana? Are they Avihinsa Sankalpana? Now you're mindful of your thoughts, but you're mindful not that you're thinking. Everybody can do that. Seriously. If you ask a Muslim person or a Christian, be mindful as you walk. When you put your left foot forward, be mindful that it's your left foot that's moving forward. Don't you think they'd be able to do that? A non-Buddhist, be mindful when you're breathing. Don't you think they'll be able to do that? So then, don't you have to be an Arya to practice the Arya Ashtangika Marga? Well, then what's the point? How is that the Arya Ashtangika Marga then? Then it should be the anything goes Eightfold Path. No, it's the Noble Eightfold Path. Why? Because you have to be a noble person first. You have to be an Arya first. An Arya understands the Four Noble Truths. It's only with that understanding can you now practice Samma Sati. And when you practice, so again, that practice does not, nothing you have to do deliberately. I keep repeating that. The thoughts that you have are naturally going to be, because they are based in Avihimsa Sankappana, Avyapada Sankappana and Nekkamba Sankappana. Your thoughts, you're always going to be mindful anyway. When you conduct yourself, your body, you're going to be mindful of that anyway. Your speech, you're going to be mindful of that anyway. That's just going to happen. And if you have become an Arya by now, you will experience that. This is not magic, by the way. So there's no levitation involved in this. There is no body breaking up into a billion little bits involved in any of this. Well, certainly not the Arya Ashtangika Marga that I have experienced. Perhaps there's another one that I don't know of. Perhaps. This has to be practical, ladies and gentlemen. Has to be practical. Has to be something you all can do. So, through Samma Sati, then we move on to Samma Samadhi. Where the Buddha talks about Savitakka Savichara, Priti Sukha, Ekaggata, Pratamajjhana, Dutikajjhana, Tutikajjhana and Tatrutajjhana, which are the 4 dhyanas, the mental absorptions. Again, English translations. Mental absorption does not cut it. The word dhyana has a meaning. There's dhyana and there's dhyana samapatti. They are not one and the same. They are different. A dhyana samapatti could be possibly taken as a mental absorption where you're fixed. There's whatever concept that you've got in your mind at a point in time, and you're fixed in that. Now remember, you don't have to be an Arya to develop samadhi or even jhanas. Even Prince Siddhartha, when he went to the likes of Alara Kalama, Uddakarama Putta, they had practiced all the jhanas by that time, except for Nirodha Samapatti. Except for that, all the other jhanas, they had perfected. So you don't have to be an Arya. Were there any Aryas when the Buddha came into this world? No, there weren't any Aryas. So he was the first Arya. So what is this dhyana that Aryas experience? Not cultivate, experience. The dhyanas that an Arya would experience, and again the meaning of that word is to, I'll have to use the singular term here. Dhyana is davaharina. What is davaharina? To burn. To burn what? Raga, Desha, Moha. When your thoughts, so Savitakka Savichara, not just any old, so there's a difference between Vitakka Vichara and Savitakka Savichara. When it's Vitakka Vichara, this is why, you see, if you're not an Arya, the way you go into the dhyanas is through Vitakka Vichara. So Vitakka is, you take some kind of concept, right? You fix your mind on it, and then you reflect on that. That is the vichara. Vichara karna. To reflect on that, to analyze it. So you don't have to be an Arya to do that. But to practice savitakka savichara. Why is it savitakka? Sa, because the sa there implies samma. That which has come through the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. Now an Arya is it's only an Arya that can experience savitakka savichara. The first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, and the fourth jhana. And through all these jhanas, what we are doing really, so I'll come to that point. What we are doing with all these jhanas is davaharana, which is burning away the defilements. Raga, dvesha, moha. Because nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, is Nibbana. Nothing else is Nibbana. Flashes of light is not Nibbana. Levitation is not Nibbana. Being able to break your body up into 1,000 little bits, that's not Nibbana. Not the Nibbana that the Buddha taught. When the Buddha has clearly defined Nibbana, and there's evidence of that in the Tripitaka, Ragakya, Dveshakya, Mohakya, anything that we do, anything that we experience, traversing the Noble Eightfold Path, has to do with eradicating Raga, Dvesha, Moha. If it's not, then that's not conducive to Nibbana. Absolutely not. Now, yes, you have to be able to attain samadhi and enter into a dhyana to attain margapala. No question about that. But that dhyana can be just a flash of a second, 1 second, or even a part of a second, 1/1000th of a second. Just one chitta, enter into dhyana and then come out of it. So for instance, remember when the most venerable Sariputta, when did he become an arahant? Do you remember the story? When he was fanning the Buddha, right? The Buddha was preaching a sermon to his uncle, to Venerable Sariputta's lay uncle. The Buddha was preaching a sermon, or cousin, I think it was his cousin. And Venerable Sariputta was kneeled to the side of the Buddha, and he was fanning the Buddha, like this, with a fan. Now, if dhyana is a state where, all your body comes to a stop. This is the difference. There's a dhyana and there's a dhyana samapatti. If dhyana is something where all your bodily actions come to a stop, then how did the Venerable Sariputta enter the state of Arihat at that point? So you don't need a dhyana samapatti to attain the margapala, but you do need a dhyana. And it doesn't have to be the fourth dhyana either. The first dhyana is sufficient for all the margapalas. To become a sotapanna, to become a sakurdagami, to become an anagami, to become an arahat. The first dhyana is sufficient. And just one chitta is sufficient. One chitta, that takes you from the marga to the pala, from the path to the fruit, that one chitta enters the dhyana and then comes out of it. That is sufficient. Others might experience something different. Others might experience, they go into the dhyana. I mean, again, I'm not talking about a sotapanna. I'm talking about, because a sotapanna, they experience that at the point of listening to a sermon. But others, they'll enter into the dhyana and they might be able to stay in that dhyana for a long period of time. I know some people who go about their day-to-day chores in the state of dhyana, but not dhyana samapatti. When you enter the state of dhyana samapatti, then your body comes to a still. When you're in the fourth dhyana samapatti, the fourth mental absorption, even breathing stops at that point. Circulation stops. If a doctor were to come and examine you, they'd think you were dead. But through the merits that you have done and through the resolve that you've made before you went into the dhyana, your body continues to survive until you come out of that dhyana samapatti. So that's samadhi. And then once you've completed that, samma sati, samma samadhi, that's your Noble Eightfold Path. Now remember I said last week, there are two more paths to this, samma jnana and samma vimukti. Samma jnana and samma vimukti is experienced by an arahatun vahanse. once the Noble Eightfold Path has been completed to perfection, nothing more to do, completed the Brahmacharya, completed, nothing else to do, then they experience Samma Jnana. Samma Jnana is Yata Bhuta Jnana, to see things as they really are. Even an Anagami has to, from time to time, make effort to look at things in the right way, because their view has not been perfected. Yata Bhuta Jnana has not been perfected. Yata Bhuta is to see things as they really are. But for an Arahatun Vahanse, no effort needs to be made. They only see things as they really are. Everything as being cause and effect. You don't have to make extra effort to see it that way. This is why an Arahatun Vahanse never feels anger, doesn't feel sad, doesn't, none of these feelings even come to their mind. Because for the likes of you and I, when such thoughts come into our mind, then we have to reflect on the Dhamma. Sorry, so that was Dhammanupassana, by the way. When the defilements come into our mind, we reflect on the Dhamma. That is Dhammanupassana. Okay? So I forgot to touch on Dhammanupassana previously. Using the Dhamma that we know, applying it to our lives, that is Dhammanupassana. So for an Arahatun Vahanse does not need to practice Dhammanupassana, because their view, their wisdom is perfected. So everything they see in the right way. And once you've come to that point, then you experience Samma Vimukti. Vimukti is the final point of liberation, freedom, from all defilements, all the 10 Dasa Sanyojanas, all the 10 Sanyojanas. So an Arahatun Vahanse, I don't know if you heard of this story where there was once an Arahat Mehenin Vahanse, an Arahat nun, who spoke to, I think it was Venerable Sariputta, and she explains, or she says, sorry, not Venerable Sariputta, it was Venerable Ananda, speaks to Venerable Ananda and says, Venerable Ananda, I have eyes and I can see, but I don't feel like going about looking at things. I have ears and I can hear, but I don't feel like going and listening to things. I don't have a particular urge or a desire to do that. I have a nose, I can smell, but I don't feel like going and smelling things. I have a tongue, I can taste things, but I don't have a particular interest or a particular desire to go and taste things. I can feel, but I don't have a particular need to go and feel things. What state of mind do you think this is? And so at that point, Venerable Ananda says, I don't really know, I'm going to have to refer you to the Buddha. So he goes and speaks to the Buddha, and he repeats the question, and at that point the Buddha goes, that Ananda is the state of an Arahat. Now, you see, that nun who had attained the state of Arahantship did not know that what she experienced was titled Arahant. It's the title that you don't know. But she knew that I have eyes, I can see, but I don't feel like I need to go and see. I need to go and look at anything. I can see, but I don't feel the need to go and look at anything. So she experiences there's been a change in how she used to be and how she is now. That feeling is Samma Vimukti. That experience is Samma Vimukti, knowing that all your defilements have been burnt, eradicated once and for all. That's when Arahatun Vahanse, back in the time of the Buddha, would approach him and would utter a paean of joy. Udanaveki, you will have heard of them, where they say, the most venerable sir, thanks to you, I have now completed my Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is what? The Noble Eightfold Path. I have completed my practice. There is nothing else left for me to do. Having become a monk, having been born human, having received your Dhamma, I have completed what it is that I came into this world for. Nothing left for me to do. That is the paean of joy that they would utter, having experienced Samma Vimukti. Imagine feeling that. I mean, we can only imagine. Yet, being able to say there's nothing else I need to do, I've done everything there is to do. All that hard work is paid off. In my quest for happiness, I have found it. Nothing else to do. I could be here, I could be gone. I don't need to survive anymore, I don't need to live anymore. I have done everything that I need to do in this life throughout samsara. Some of them, they look back at their previous lives. When they have the abhijñā jnana, the abilities to look back at their previous lives, they look back and they reflect on all the times they've been born in the hells. All the times they've been born humans and devas and brahmas and the endless, incalculable amount of suffering that they had to endure. And now they experience, I have completed all of that. There's nothing else I need to do. I'm done. Just think about when you finish your homework. All of your homework done. How you walk up to your mother and say, Mother, Ammi, I'm done. How much joy does that bring you? When you completed your O-level exams, when you finished your A-level exams, how much joy did you feel at that point? Imagine then how an Arahatun Wahanse must feel. I've completed everything there is to do, nothing else left to do, I'm done. I'm done with samsara. Sense of Shiva down my spine. That's what we need to aim for. That's what we're heading for. Hold tight. But don't rush. It's a steady journey. Make it a steady journey. Don't run. Walk. If you can't walk, crawl. That's fine. Don't try to walk while you can only crawl. And don't try to run while you can only still walk. Because when you try to walk when you can only crawl, you're trying to imitate a Sotapanna, Sakurdagami, Anagami, or Arahat. Don't try to imitate the Aryas. If you can only walk, don't try to run. Like how when we were small, we used to get into our dad's slippers or shoes and we used to run around the house, pretending to be a grown-up. And half the time you'd fall and scrape your knees because we pretended to be somebody we weren't. And every time we did that, that only brought us pain and misery and suffering. So let's not pretend to be anybody. Because pretending, what's the point? Where is that going to get us? Nowhere. In fact, it's one of the Satara Parajikas. Even if once you become a monk and once you received high ordination, if you pretend to have margapalas and you so this is all pretending to have margapala, and you say that to somebody else, hey, I am a Sotapanna, I am an Anagam, I am a Rahatan Wahanse, for gain, with the intention of gain in return. That's a Parajika. So let's not pretend to be anybody. Let's just be ourselves for once. Understanding that there's a baby Natasha that lives inside all of us. That this baby has to be killed. We have to be baby killers. Not that kind of baby killer. The self that lives within us, we have to kill. But that's a slow and steady journey. Let's not rush. Let's walk. Recently I heard there was because I was preparing to give a short lecture to our novice monks at the monastery. And then I got to read a book where, I think it was Steve Jobs, who has said, if you want to go fast, then go by yourself. But if you want to go far, then seek a companion. This journey that we are on, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to go fast. Going fast is not going to get us there. We have a long way to go. So we need companionship. Companionship of noble people. You, each other, the person sat next to you right now. I always say this, think about why each of you have taken the time to come and be here today, when there are so many other things you could do. Particularly young children. When sometimes, they have little interest. Because their young minds are still unable to focus on how long have we been doing this sermon now? For about 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. They find it difficult to concentrate. And yet, for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th week, 10th week, they still keep coming. How great they are. How great that is. That's what we need to celebrate. All the young people that have kept coming to these sermons, we need to celebrate that. Right? When they've got so many things, I'm sure there are lots of cartoons that are on TV on a Sunday afternoon, on a Sunday evening. Lots of theatres in towns where you could go to and watch Superman and Spider-Man and Batman and all the other mans that come along. Right? But still, they take the time to come here. And they don't fuss. They come and sit down and listen. And again, to parents who come with their children, my, what dedication. What a great bunch of parents you are. The effort that you put through to bring up your children in the right way, and you realize, actually, you know what, my children, yes, I can help them earn all the money they need, buy as many houses and cars and all that material wealth, yes, I can help them. But that's not going to help them find true happiness in this world. True happiness in this world is in eradicating, putting out those fires. And for that, only the Dhamma can help us. You know how we at the beginning of every sermon we chant or we recite Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi, Dhammang Saranang Gacchāmi and Sanghang Saranang Gacchāmi, and 3 times over with each one of them? Do you know why we do that? As Buddhists, don't do anything for just because someone else tells you to do it. Understand the meaning behind it. Because we went through lots of things in our life. We went through all kinds of experiences. We went to lots of teachers looking for a way to find happiness. But now we realize none of them can help us. Now we understand that it's only the Buddha that can help us. That's why we recite Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi, Saranang, Sara Nasan. What is Sara? To go through in samsara, Sarisaran. Nasan, to stop it. To stop it once and for all. Saranasan. Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi. So if you want to stop this samsaric journey of transmigration, only the Buddha can help us do that. You go to Jesus Christ, He's not going to be able to help you with that. Go to Prophet Muhammad, He's not going to be able to help you with that. He'll show you how to be happy, but in the material world. He'll show you how to ascend to the heavens. Absolutely. Jesus Christ can help you do that. No question. Go to Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu. They'll all help you do that. Ascend to the heavens and lead a good life. A happy life. But material life where you're still subject to Jati, Jara, Vyadi, Marana. Wherever existence lives, wherever there is existence, the 4 tsunamis are always heading our way. So if you want to remove yourself from this game once and for all, where there is no Jati, no Jara, no Vyadi, no Marana, you have to go to the Buddha. No one else can show you another way. That's why Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi. And then you ask the question, well, what is it that the Buddha taught me? What is the path to stop this rebirth cycle? Dhammang Saranang Gacchāmi. The Dhamma is the only path. What is the Dhamma? The Paticca Samuppada. Understanding what is the cause for all of this. Avidya and Tanha, ignorance and attachment. So I have to eradicate ignorance and attachment. How do I do that? Sanghang Saranang Gacchāmi. Sang, Gasadana. Gasadana, what is that? To dust, to remove, to eradicate. What? Sang. Avidya, Tanha, ignorance and attachment. But why 3 times? Why Buddhaṃ Saranang, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ Saranang, why Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ Saranang? Through mind, speech and body. Trivida Suchariteya. See, if you really recite Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi, Dhammang Saranang Gacchāmi, Sanghang Saranang Gacchāmi, Dutiyampi, Tatiyampi, Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi, Dhammang Saranang Gacchāmi, Tatiyampi, Sanghang Saranang Gacchāmi, with their meaning in mind, you don't need anything else to attain Nibbana. That alone is enough. That alone is enough, not the reciting of it. Remember, I'm not asking you to now go home and chant it 180 times and that's going to do it. No, not that. If you understand that with its true meaning, what is Buddha? Bhava Uddha. Bhava is existence. Excuse me. Existence you have to uproot. Uduruladana. You have to uproot Bhava. How? Through the Dhamma. By doing what? Sangasadana. Avidya tanha. See, the path to Nibbana, all in that. And you chant it every day, do you not? Before you observe the 5 precepts. You don't need to come here to attain Nibbana. You know the trick. You know the path. You have the formula with yourselves. You don't need me for this. You can do it. When you come here, all I show you is the meaning of what it is you do. That's all. I'm not teaching you, I'm not showing you something that you never knew. I'm helping you find new meaning to it. That's all I'm doing. Because that's what the Buddha did. So, as I was saying, given that we've been, I think apparently it's the 50th sermon, since we started keeping records. But prior to that, there were plenty of times, I think, when I was a lay person, we had sermons at my lay home, and that was to Venerable Dharmadasa when he was a young lay person, and his 2 sisters, who are both here today. So it's because of the 3 of them we started this. And we've come a long way. The 3 has grown manyfold, not just in person here, but I think people listening online. So we have to celebrate. As a celebration of the effort that you put in to practicing the path, to experiencing, to achieving what it is that the Buddha came to give us. Remember, this is the Father that went through endless pain, endless torture to give us what we have today. To gift us the path to Nibbana, to gift us the path to happiness. This is the Father. We are His children, nothing else. I am nothing other than the vehicle for His Dhamma. He owns the Dhamma, not me. The Buddha owns the Dhamma. He is the proprietor, not me. I am just a vehicle. This vehicle will break after a little while, and then there's going to have to be lots of new vehicles. All of you, I hope, will one day be on this seat. Even if you're not on this seat, this seat, I don't mean literally this seat. Metaphorically, in your workplaces, in your homes, with your friends and relations. If they're prepared to listen, then don't keep your mouth shut. Speak. Give the gift of Dhamma. Try it at least once. If they reject it, that's okay. One day they might come and ask you again, hey, Manchang, you know what you said that day? Can you tell that to me again, please? Yeah, sure. Sit down, let's talk. Now you're ready to listen. But sometimes you never know, the first thing you say, that could be enough for them to change their lives beyond imagination. Think about how much change it's made to your lives. You're not the same person you were 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago, 6 hours ago, 6 minutes ago. You're not the same person. Because every moment, after you've entered this path, you're gonna travel on this path. And it's going to take us to that sea of Nibbana. So as I said last week, well done to all of you. There are lots of people who put in a lot of effort to make this happen. I'm just a very small cog in this whole process. I mean, literally all I have to do is turn up, sit on this seat. You have everything else prepared for me. I don't even have to go pluck flowers. The flowers are ready to lay at the Buddha's feet and worship Him. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is turn up. But it's you that go through a lot to be here, because you have duties and responsibilities to your families, right, to your neighbors, to your workplaces. I don't have any of that. I gave all of that up when I donned myself this robe. So I'm a free man, a lot more free than you are. So whilst you have all these responsibilities, you still dedicate your time to come and take the Buddha's gift of Dhamma, to understand it, to find happiness through it, and then to help at least one other person. I remember when we first started doing sermons in this place, I think there were probably 10 people at most, 10 or 15. But we've grown since then. How so? I didn't know and invite anybody. I didn't invite anybody then, I haven't invited anybody since. So who sent out the invites? You did. Each and every one of you. When you came the next week, you invited your friend, hey, I've been going to this sermon for a few weeks now, I think it's quite interesting, why don't you come along? And then you brought them along, and then they brought somebody else along, and then they bring somebody else along. That's how it works. That's the gift of Dhamma. I'm never going to come and say, hey, I do these sermons on a Sunday afternoon, come along. I do some really good sermons, you should come and listen to them. How pathetic that would be. Seriously. My sermons? I never gave any sermon. This is the old Lord Buddha's Dhamma. All I am is a vehicle. So, well done all of you. Really give yourselves a pat on the back for what you've done, what you've achieved so far. All those fires of desire, aversion and delusion that are being put out every week that passes by, every month, every year that passes by, that's all your effort. None of that is mine. I can't take credit for any of that. And the Buddha. These are the two things that are involved here. This is why we call ourselves Dharma Yobai. That's all you need, you and the Dhamma. It's not Mamai Dharma Yobai. You don't need me for this. You need the Dhamma. The Buddha was here to give you the Dhamma. So you have the Dhamma, now practice the Dhamma, practice the path, and you will fulfill your goal. There's a lot of work that goes into typing these things up, transcripting sermons, making these, sending these sermons online, streaming them online, putting these seats out for you to come and sit here. These fans, lights, right? All this don't happen by magic. It's all your effort. The drinks that are served at the end of this, I didn't ask for any of that. None of these are my ideas. I turn up, there's a seat here, I sit down and I start speaking. So well done all of you. This is a celebration of your achievement. This is a celebration of your success. And this is a celebration of your success on the path to Nibbana. Well done you. I hope that journey completes very soon and in this very birth itself for all of you. May that be your goal and may that be your aim. Have faith in yourselves. Have conviction in yourselves. People will come and say, hey, you're not going to be able to do it. I think one of the first questions I asked you when we first met many weeks ago, sometimes months ago was, you're all successful people. I have no doubt about that. Particularly, you people living in Colombo, right? You're successful people. How many people might have come to you and said, hey, you're never going to be a successful man any day. You're never going to be able to you're never be able to succeed in that business or that job. How many people might have come and said that to you? But you didn't take their word. You had faith in yourself. You didn't give up. Relentlessly, you strived. You put energy into it. So you can do this. Each and every one of you can do this. From the youngest child here to the eldest person in this room, we can all do this. And we'd all help each other to do it. This is the Kalyana Mitra Sevane that we all need. We'll all help each other do this. And we'll complete this journey in this birth itself. Make that promise to yourselves. Okay, so before we conclude, let's chant the Arya Maitri Bhavana. Oh, and before I forget, this Arya Maitri Bhavana meditation has been made available in a CD format. And I think there are copies that have been brought here today. Is that right? Yes? Yeah. So you're all welcome to take a copy. And if there's a friend or someone in the family that might benefit, so it's there in Sinhala and in English, the Arya Maitri Bhavana. So you can share it out with a friend or family, and if you're asking how much is it? It's how much the Buddha charged me for his Dhamma. How much did he charge me for his Dhamma? Free. It's the gift of Dhamma. Priceless. For everything else, there's a MasterCard. But for the gift of Dhamma, it's free. Okay, so let's chant the Arya Maitri Bhava now. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fire of birth, freed from the fire of decay, freed from the fire of illness, freed from the fire of death, freed from the fire of sorrow, freed from the fire of lamentation, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fire of suffering, freed from the fire of discontentment, freed from the fire of exhaustion, freed from the fire of disappointment, freed from the fire of clinging on to the five aggregates, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the suffering of samsara, freed from the disease of samsara, freed from the fear of samsara, freed from the fire of samsara, freed from the burning of samsara, freed from the sorrow of samsara, freed from the lust of samsara, freed from the clutches of samsara, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. The karma worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the karma worlds. The rupa worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the rupa worlds. The arupa worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the arupa worlds. All worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from all the worlds. Nibbana is the only salvation. May all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May all beings attain Nibbana. Letting go is the only salvation. May I and all beings let go. Detachment is the only salvation. May I and all beings be detached. Being freed is the only salvation. May I and all beings be freed. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana.
Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the bondage of lust, freed from the bondage of aversion, freed from the bondage of delusion, freed from the bondage of Mara, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, 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 healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. You know what's great about you all? All of this was produced, printed by someone among you. This was produced by someone among you. But do you see a name on any of this? There's no name printed on any of this. Why? That's what's great. We're on a journey to not preserve ourselves. We're on a journey to not making somebodies out of ourselves. We're on a journey to making nobodies of ourselves. On a journey to making nobodies out of ourselves. What's so precious about a name? What's the point of giving place to a name? It's nothing. But the merits that these people acquire from making something like this available is unimaginable. Unimaginable. You will have heard of the story of Anathapindika, right? And how he, having donated 54,000 crores of his own money, he built the Jetavanarama, and he was feeling proud about it. He would have probably said to other people, "Hey, look, this is the monastery that I built." And what he received in return was a palace of silver in the heavens. But there was a bystander who was a very poor man. A very poor man. He had nothing to his name. He was in rags. And he saw this deed unfolding, such a meritorious deed, an offering to the Mahasangha, an offering to the Supreme Buddha. He put his hands together and he said, "Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu." You know what he received in return? A gold palace in the heavens. Anathapindika received as reward a silver palace. And this man, with nothing to his name, what he got in return was a gold palace. The Buddha Shasana is a place like that. The Buddha Shasana that is the kind of Shasana, the ministry that we have, where value is given to where it is deserved, not people who go after it. Where praise is given to people who deserve it, not people who go after it. I think again I got to hear that there's someone among you who wants to produce a CD incorporating the sermons that we've done recently and then distribute it for free among you. I didn't ask for it. These are all thoughts that arose in your minds. And I bet there's never going to be a name on any of this.
There will probably be people among you who don't even know my name. What's the point in knowing a name? What's the point? We're all trying to be nobodies. And thankfully no one comes to me and asks, Swaminatha, what's your name, please? What's the point? It's pointless. We know his name. That's enough. I'm so happy to be here and to speak to people like you. Because I can see that you reap the rewards, you reap the fruit. You take something from this. It's not just in one ear, out the other. That's great. So, keep doing that. Okay. So before we conclude, let us take a moment to transfer the merits that we have all acquired to all those who deserve the merits. Let us start by transferring the merits that we have all acquired today to the Bhikkhu Bhikkhunis Upasaka Upasikas who, having listened to the dissemination of the Tathagatan Vahanse or his disciples, then made the efforts, took the trouble and went through so much pain and sacrifice to preserve and protect the Dhamma for our benefit. It is thanks to them that today we have the Tripitaka. It is thanks to them that today we have the Dhamma in its truest form, such that we may find recluse in the Dhamma, we may find our salvation in the Dhamma to redeem ourselves from samsara. So may the merits that we have all acquired today be transferred to all those Bhikkhu Bhikkhunis Upasaka Upasikas. May they rejoice in these merits, and if any of them have been born in the woeful plane, may these merits help them be born in the blissful plane and be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very light itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Also take a moment to reflect on all the Bhikkhu Bhikkhunis Upasaka Upasikas who not only strive day and night to practice the Noble Eightfold Path, to delivering themselves from samsara, but also to disseminate this Dhamma to all worldly sentient beings. That includes all of you, by the way. As I said a few moments ago, you all take a lot of trouble, you all go through a lot to not only be here in person yourself, but also to give the gift of Dhamma, the gift that keeps on giving to your friends and family. So anyone that would have received this Dhamma thanks to you today is able to put out the fires of Raga, Dvesha, Moha thanks to you. So likewise all the Bhikkhu Bhikkhunis Upasaka Upasikas, which includes all of you throughout all the worlds who dedicate their lives to practicing this Dhamma, this path, and also disseminating the Dhamma to all worldly sentient beings, may they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today and be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very birth itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. As well as that, take a moment to transfer the merits to the Mahanayakas, the Anunayakas, as well as the chief incumbent monk of this temple, as well as the most venerable Udvaya Dhammaloka Swamipada and Mahansa, and also all the monks that are resident in the temples in your local towns, in your local villages. It is thanks to them that you have grown up to be good people. It is thanks to them that today you discipline yourself in the 5 precepts. It is not I who taught you the 5 precepts, it is them that taught you that. It is them that guided your parents to bring you up in the surrounding and in the environment that they did so. And therefore it is thanks to them that today we conduct ourselves in the way that we do. So let us transfer the merits to all of them. May they all rejoice in these merits, and may they all be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very human birth itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Also, let's take a moment to transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmas, spirits, demons and the dead who seek opportunities to rejoice in these merits. If any of them are today born in the woeful plane, may these merits help them be born in the blissful plane. As well as that, take a moment to reflect and acknowledge that throughout our journey in samsara, there are lots of people, there are lots of beings who we have sought assistance, support and help from to be where we are today, to perhaps have been born human today. It is thanks to them we have been able to conduct meritorious deeds and refrain ourselves and abstain ourselves from the unmeritorious deeds. So may the merits that we have all acquired today be transferred to them. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. If any of them have been born in the woeful plane, may these merits help them be born in the blissful plane, and may these merits help them attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very birth itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, also take a moment to
transfer the merits to everyone who has made this occasion possible, to everyone who's taken the trouble to send out invites to make this venue available, to arrange the furniture so that you can sit down comfortably, to make this stereo system available, to these microphones, all of this technology available. It is thanks to them that you have been able to listen to the sermon, and I have been able to preach this sermon. And also those people who in the past have contributed to building these temples, these monasteries, anyone who contributed in any way, shape or form. Also to anyone in your families, your mothers, fathers, your uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, grandparents and so on and so forth. Your neighbors, etc., who in any way, shape or form may have helped you be here today, may have helped you conduct meritorious deeds at whichever point in your lives. May all of them be able to rejoice in these merits, and may these merits help them all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very birth itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may the merits that we have all acquired today help empower all those bhikkhu, bhikkhunis, upasuk, upasikas throughout the world who strive hard to become Arahatun Vahanses, be able to do that in this very birth itself. And may we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds and thousands of Arahatun Vahanses in our very life itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may the merits that we have all acquired today in preaching this sermon, in listening to this sermon, and in making this sermon possible in any way, shape or form, either through being here physically or perhaps online, through the communications that have happened, by supporting you in any way, shape or form, be able to rejoice in these merits. May these merits help us all be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very birth itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the noble triple gem be with you all. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sila Denatam Teruvan Sadhu.